On our anniversary, my 27M wife, 27F, and I were intimate, and she said another man's name during sex. He's a mutual friend. I'm at a loss. How do I navigate this? I'm 27M, in a fight with my wife, 27F, after an incident during intimacy. For context, we're high school sweethearts married for 6 years. We have a child, 3M. We've been through a lot together. I love her deeply. Our marriage is in a rough patch. Our quality time as a couple is struggling. We're in counseling. We're working on making time for each other and reaffirming our bond. That's our current focus in counseling, and we're assigned intimacy exercises. Part of these exercises is for us to make a consistent, conscious effort for each other. We had a staycation to celebrate our anniversary while our son spent the weekend at his grandparents'. The trip was largely nice, and we got to better focus on each other, but it took a turn. The night of our anniversary we were cuddling, and it turned into more. My wife initiated. She was really into it and expressive, and then out of nowhere she moaned another man's name who's in our friend group. We stopped immediately. There was no mistaking what she said. She looked stunned before recovering and treating it like a texting typo or something. When I questioned why she'd say another guy's name, let alone one of our friends, she swore it meant nothing and that she was just consumed with what I was doing to her. I couldn't buy it. I don't believe it meant nothing. Not the passionate way she said it. I believe she was fantasizing about him while being with me. She insisted it wasn't like that and was only a slip of the tongue. I asked why his name in particular. First she didn't know, then said maybe because she was replying to his texts earlier in the group chat. When I pushed back, she got defensive. She said I was making something out of nothing and how it didn't need to ruin our anniversary. I told her nothing she was saying was reaching me, and I needed some time. She tried kissing me and initiating again like nothing happened, but I turned her down. The incident put a damper on the rest of the trip. We haven't been intimate since, and any steps we've made forward with our exercises have taken a significant leap back. We're in a cycle of awkward silence even in front of our son or her ignoring the elephant in the room. She's being extra affectionate now, but I can't shake what happened. I never thought twice about their friendship, but now I'm seeing past interactions differently. I love my wife. She and our son mean the world to me. I've been committed to working on our marriage, but I'm at a loss here. I feel my wife isn't being honest and is attempting to rug sweep by pouring on affection. I'm left reconsidering everything. I don't know how to navigate forward. I need outside perspectives. TLDR, on our anniversary, my wife and I were intimate, and she moaned another man's name during sex. The guys in our friend group. She downplayed it and said I was making something out of nothing. Now she's being extra affectionate. I don't believe she's being honest. I'm left reconsidering everything. How do I navigate this? Comments. Commenter 1. Definitely need to save conversations on this for your counseling sessions. I highly recommend using a therapist certified in the Gottman method. Commenter 2. And the way the wife responds to him telling the counselor will say a lot about where she is in all of this and whether she's taking it seriously or just going through the motions. Commenter 3. Okay, if this happened with my partner, the first place my head would go immediately would be he's having an affair. But, being on the outside, even though an affair is still on my list of possibilities, I don't think affair is the only logical answer. My other logical conclusion isn't very pretty either though, but it's happened that people are fantasizing about someone else. So, she may just have the hots for this dude and thinking of him gets her going and she was so in her own head picturing him, that she got lost in her own moment and it slipped out. For me, this option would still be grounds for me to take a step back and question a lot. Even thinking of my partner fantasizing about a friend while having sex with me makes me want to throw up, so I 100% can understand why this has messed you up so bad. I don't think any response is going to make you feel better honestly. It happened and that's going to be a hard one to forget. Man, I wish I had advice, but knowing how it would make me feel, I got nothing I believe will make this feel any better for you. I would absolutely check your phone records to see if they are communicating more than they should be. That would definitely be my first move. Commenter 4. Reddit is bananas. There was a post here the other day by a guy who fantasized about another woman while having sex with his wife and it was the best sex they ever had. He was racked with guilt and was asking if he should confess. Tons of commenters were saying they've done it, it's not a big deal, it's just a fantasy, don't borrow trouble by telling the wife, etc. etc. I'm not saying that to convince you to react one way or another, how you feel is how you feel. But I do say it to caution you against taking advice from Reddit because what you'll get tends to be completely arbitrary, and many commenters are influenced by what they read from others, and it snowballs. You're already in counseling with your wife. Take this there, and ignore whatever you read from people who say, it's no big deal, I fantasize about someone else every time I have sex with my partner Lolo, or, man I could never get past this, she clearly wants that guy and it's only a matter of time before she cheats, get out while you're still young. We don't have the answers you need. Talk to your wife and counselor. Update. Thanks to everyone who reached out. I, 27M, couldn't reply to everything, but the outside perspectives helped. A general consensus was that my wife, 27F, and I's issue should be tackled in therapy. I knew that's what I should have done, but I delayed. I was too embarrassed. The thought of bringing up what happened in counseling made it worse, but I knew it needed to be done. My wife didn't initially take kindly to it. She was defensive and accused me of throwing her under the bus. I disagreed. I wouldn't throw her under the bus either. The truth is, we never arranged topics in therapy beforehand. We argued over each other. Our therapist came through as a referee. She called for a timeout for us to recollect and to reflect on the objective being working towards a solution, not going at each other. We were able to actually talk once things cooled down. My wife was asked how she would feel if the roles were reversed. She admitted if I had said another woman's name while we were having sex and on our anniversary, she wouldn't have handled it well at all. She apologized for downplaying my feelings. While I appreciated her acknowledgement, I still thought she wasn't honest about why she said that guy's name. So I pressed. She said she didn't want to hurt me more than she already did. I told her she was hurting me by lying. She confessed that during a stint where we weren't having sex, she had engaged in fantasies to satisfy herself. One of them was of our friend. I knew the stint she was talking about. Intimacy as a whole has been a struggle, but there was a point where we were abstinent sexually. We weren't even sharing a bed at the time. We'd argue, then leave to separate rooms, or our son, 3M, would share the bed with us. I asked how long she's been fantasizing about him. She said off and on. He wasn't a constant fantasy. It wasn't necessarily about him but more about the taboo. She swore that the fantasies meant nothing. That they were just scenarios to get her there and nothing she would ever actually want. It was tough, but I tried hearing her out instead of shutting down. Arguing wasn't getting us anywhere either. I can't relate to her about this. She's always been enough for me during good and bad times. I was always focused on her during intimacy. I told her that while I knew our marriage wasn't perfect, I thought we were getting to a better place, and we were engaging in various forms of intimacy again. She claimed she doesn't indulge the fantasies anymore. I called bull because she did just that on our anniversary of all days. She insisted his name was only a slip of the tongue because she was replying to his texts in the group thread that day. She said she was consumed with what I was doing to her, and in the heat of the moment, his name slipped out. When I asked why she didn't tell me all of this after the incident, she said she felt guilty and afraid for our marriage. She said our marriage was already in a state of recovery, and she didn't want to blow everything up over a stupid mistake. She kept saying she doesn't want him or anyone else, she only wants to be with me, and that's the whole reason why she's fighting for our marriage. The session was a lot. I was mostly quiet after she finished. She asked me to please say something, but all I could say was I needed some time. I'm still sorting through how I feel. I believe she was more truthful, but it's difficult, nor do I see things between her and our friend the same. I would like to work on my marriage. My wife and our son mean the world to me. I want the best solution for everyone involved. Thank you again to everyone. I appreciate the support. TLDR Update 4, on our anniversary, my wife and I were intimate, and she moaned another man's name during sex. The guys in our friend group. She downplayed it and said I was making something out of nothing. Now she's being extra affectionate. I don't believe she's being honest. I'm left reconsidering everything. Comments. Commenter 1. I think next thing is you need to do is schedule another therapy session and discuss tools for rebuilding trust. At this point, you bring up your trust was shook because she kept trickle-truthing, and how can you know she isn't hiding more from you? That you don't want to distrust her but you don't know how to rebuild. Allow me to be blunt about some uncomfortable truths. Everyone fantasizes. It is if and how we act on our fantasies and if we allow our fantasies to impact our real life that matters. Keep your focus on her behavior, not her fantasies. Trust is similar to reputation, in that once it is broken, it is hard to rebuild. But it can be rebuilt. Trust is always a leap of faith. It is built on little acts of consistent reliable behavior, but at its heart it is a leap of faith. The little voices in your head, OP. The ones going, but what if she is secretly in love with friend? But what if she thinks he is sexier than me? Etc. Yes, those voices. Nothing your wife can say or do will be able to silence those voices. That is a battle for you and you alone. You need to figure out how to self-soothe those voices. Commenter 2. Well, that's the problem with trickle-truthing. There's no way to know when she stops trickling, and when she's telling the truth. Commenter 3. I didn't do it. I did, but it was just a fantasy. I don't fantasize anymore. I do fantasize, but it doesn't mean I want him. I want him, but won't do anything. I did something on our struggle time, but it was just hanging out. And so on. Stories number 2. Aita for telling my brother's fiancé the real reason he won't let her invite her family to their wedding. My 29M brother, 32M, is engaged to his fiancée, 30F, and their wedding is in a few months. Everything was going fine until she mentioned wanting to invite her side of the family. My brother immediately shut it down, saying it would ruin the wedding. She was devastated. For context, her family is lower income, and she's the only one in her family who went to college and built a successful career. Our family is pretty well off, and my brother has always been obsessed with keeping up appearances. I thought he was just being shallow, but then I found out the real reason. A few weeks ago, at a family gathering, I overheard my brother talking to our parents. He admitted he doesn't want her family at the wedding because they're embarrassing and look like they came from a trailer park. He even joked that her dad looks like he crawled out of a Walmart clearance bin. I was disgusted. His fiancée later asked me if I knew why he was so against inviting her family. I tried to dodge the question, but she was genuinely heartbroken and kept pressing me. I finally told her the truth. She went silent, thanked me, and left. Now, everything has exploded. She confronted him, called him classist, and is considering calling off the wedding. My brother is furious and says I ruined his life by meddling. Our parents are on his side, saying I should have kept my mouth shut. I feel like she had a right to know, but now I'm wondering, Aita for telling her. Stories number 3. My GF came out as a lesbian before our marriage and no one gives a fuck about me. You know what? Fuck you all. Me and my ex, Dana, have been together for 7 years and I knew that she was bisexual by the beginning and she openly told me about her past relationships with girls but I never cared because to it wasn't a problem at all. We never had any big fight or arguments but just small things and we always sorted out everything. So after 7 years of relationship I decided that it was the right moment to make the big question because we were deeply in love, financially stable and already living together, so for me it was the right time. I prepared everything to make it more romantic and unique as I could, and when I made her the final question she hesitated but then said yes. There the problem started cause I didn't understood why that hesitation and I asked her but she only replayed. I was nervous so I gave up. We told this to her parents. Mine died when I was 20 and my little sister when she was 17 in a car accident, and our friends, but even here some things were off because her parents were faking to be happy and I didn't understood why while our friends were super happy and were already telling us ideas for our wedding. 4 months passed by and we were planning our wedding when the day came up. I came back home from work and she waiting for me with her bags ready and I asked her what was going on. She told me, listen, I know that this is gonna be hard for you but I'm not bi, I'm lesbian. My parents knew this since 2 years and this is why they weren't happy and were faking it. Please I beg you to not make it difficult and just let me leave, don't cry, don't beg me and don't scream, let's just things go like adults, and then she drove away. I was standing there on my feet for like 1 hour in shock cause I couldn't believe it. We passed by getting married to Dana coming out like a heartless and cold girl that I couldn't recognize. The worst thing comes now cause 3 months passed by that day, I cancelled the wedding, and literally no one ever texted me or called me asking me how I was, if I was fine, if I needed something, just nothing. Not her parents, not her, she blocked me that day, and not even our fire ends. No one gives a fuck about me at all. In this 3 months I was hospitalized 3 times cause I lost weight, 15 kilograms, and have insomnia. I just work and come home, nothing else. While everyone is praising her for her coming out, how good is she to finally realize she was lesbian and her courage to be herself after years of fighting to find her true identity. Right now I'm not even capable of being mad, I'm just in the belief for what happened, how fast it all happened and that no one gives a fuck about me because her coming out is more important than her ex. You know what? Fuck them all, they showed me their true color and fuck my ex. Edit, WTF. I just turned off my phone for 2 hours and went for a walk around my city. Honestly, I wasn't expecting all this support because I couldn't even imagine someone actually reading this. Believe me, I want to trust you and believe that all this kind comments are true, but right now I can't. I just saw everyone that's supposed to love me and care about me ignoring me and ghosting me, so I lost hope in people and especially for strangers on the internet. I hope to come here again in a few months and read this all again and believe you, but now I can't. You all seem good people and sincere, but believe me, for how much I want to trust you I simply can't right now, but I want to thank you all anyway. I'm not okay, and the 3 times I was hospitalized I tried to kill myself, but I'm not good even in doing that. For 3 months I thought again and again and again if I was the problem, what I could do better, what I did wrong. But nothing changes. So here I'm in the middle of fucking nowhere, seated on a sidewalk like a homeless, reading strangers' comments on a post that I don't even know why I posted. Again, thank you all. Edit 2. I have an update, but due to Troofmakist rules I can only update after 3 days, so I will do it after that time, and if something of new would happen I will write it in the update. So just have patience, cause a lot is happening and I still have to figure out a lot of things and how to act. Top comments. Commenter 1. She did not solve her problem like an adult. She avoided it and then ran away like a little kid. Deplorable. Commenter 2. You did nothing wrong and that was incredibly selfish, cruel, and awful of her. As soon as she realized she was a lesbian she should have broken it off. She wasted minimum of 2 years of your life that she knew for sure she was a lesbian and she strung you along. Nothing makes that okay to do. It will get better. Give yourself the time you need to grieve and heal. Be kind to yourself. Treat yourself. Don't rush the healing. You'll be okay. Commenter 3. I'm so sorry how you were deceived and how no one gave you any sympathy. For your own mental health, you need to put all of these people behind you. They are not going to give you what you need. It will be hard, but you need to start rebuilding a new life for yourself. You can do it. Update 1. Update: my GF came out as a lesbian before our marriage and no one gives a fuck about me. You know what? Fuck you all. So here we go again like in GTA San Andreas, but this time is more painful and shocking at the same time cause today and yesterday night a lot happened. Like someone of you folks said, somehow one of my ex-friends saw my post on TikTok and the absolute mess started and is still going on right now. This ex-friend, I will call him Paul, reached out to me and basically told me that he saw the post and knew that it was me cause I used my ex real name, Dana, and was shocked to know what really happened cause apparently Dana told my ex-friends that she came out to me as a lesbian and I tried to lay hands on her and threat her, and she told them to not contact me again. They all believed her, but then when they all saw my post they started pressuring her if my post was saying the truth or not, and she admitted the lie. Since Paul's text I received a ton of texts and calls from everyone asking me how I'm, if I'm fine. They are sorry for believing Dana and not texting me first, and apologies. But then there is the real issue, Dana. She texted me asking to forgive her, that she was sorry for how bad she treated me and admitting that she invented all cause she was afraid to lose friends. And unfortunately it's not all cause I got a text from her girlfriend, Mary, and basically she told me that she is sorry for Dana's behavior and for what she did, and, here comes the issue, that she knew Dana since a year and she never told her about me but always talked to her about me like a roommate, so she was thinking to leave Dana. Now comes my part cause I made a new group including them all, even Dana and Mary, and told them that I'm not changing my mind about forgiving them. I was thinking to sue Dana, partially true cause I'm not sure if doing it or not, and if they, my ex-friends, were decent humans they would have texted me asking me if I was out of my mind to lay hands on Dana or just insulting me via texts if they really cared about me. Then I added some personal things about Dana and blocked them all. My blocking method isn't working cause they are continuing to harass me with texts and calls from other numbers and even making other people calling me and texting me. Crazy shit is happening and I really still can't believe at all this mess cause I'm thinking that it's all a nightmare and I need to wake up, but unfortunately it's all fucking true. Then the other thing is that finally I saw a therapist today, a few hours ago, and I don't like to admit it but I cried a lot cause for her, the therapist. I never worked on my parents and my sister's death and then this thing with my ex added making me explode, so it's gonna be a very long journey and I hope to reach a point. I already had the number of the therapist there on my table in the kitchen but never called, but this time I did and hopefully it will help. So this is all and I hope to update you not so quickly like now but when I will feel better. So again thank you all and hopefully I will update you in better times. P.S. to all the people that are following me I want to say thank you, but my life is pretty boring and I don't think to post something else so you're not obligated to follow me. Then to the people that wrote me privately, thank you all and be sure that I read all your messages and I appreciate it, so thank you too. Additional info: Boombox Master, normal people, break up with their partner and tell everyone about it and why then move on. Dana, ghosts her BF and lies just because she was scared. Honestly I would definitely sue for defamation, man. You have the evidence and I don't think it could go wrong. What do her parents think? Oh OP, I forgot to write this little part but the quick resume is that I never had a good relationship with them, so we never went along well cause they always said that I wasn't the right guy for their daughter, so I never cared about them, but this time they asked me to think wisely and to not sue Dana cause she was afraid, and they even justified her actions. That's all, and in fact I wasn't surprised about their reaction to the news of marrying her. Top comments. Commenter 1, damn. You were absolutely correct calling the ex-friends out because any good friend would have called you out on problematic behavior or at least been like, dude. What were you thinking? Also, there is not shame in crying. Good luck on your healing journey, and those folks can kick rocks. ETA, I would create a templates response for when folks message you and just copy-paste it. But it's funny how they had no problem ghosting you but now can't accept you telling them to F off. Commenter 2, just change your phone number so your ex and toxic friends won't call you again. Focus on your healing and I pray you find the happiness and love you deserve. And NBSP. Final update. A month passed by my first post and here I'm again. I know that I promised to be here again when things would be better and I hoped for that very much, but unfortunately my life isn't better at all and things are going always worse than I expected. I'm gonna talk like I talk with my therapist cause a little bit you all are like my therapist, hahaha. You know I'm not an expert of therapy and this things and I hoped that in a short time things would change and would make me feel better, but it's more difficult and longer than I expected and imaginated. I'm crying every day about all that happened to me, about my parents and my little sister premature death, what happened with Dana and how my friends betrayed me so easily like I was just a random guy. The worst thing is about Dana. After my parents' death I put all my attention and importance on her. She was like my promise to have a new family and start a new life together and be again a family. In all these years I tried my best to make her feel loved, happy and cared. What maybe don't transpires from my old posts is how much I loved her and how much I cared about her cause Dana was the only person in this world that knew me 100% and she was for real my soft spot. After my retirement from the army she was the one that saw the real me after those years risking my life. I still have some traumas but I'm working even on that, and then I knew Dana and it was love at the first sight. So yes, call me naive, that I still believe in the fairy tales but I really thought that she was the one for me and that could finally give me my dream of having a family that I lost. The worst and most difficult thing in this month was to finally change my number and start again. I mean I thought many times to call her, text her and even see her again cause despite all this mess I still, somehow, care and love her, but then I think again at how poorly and badly she treated me and I change my mind, but her presence is still very present there in my mind. I still miss those little things that we were doing together. I miss Dana being messy and a little goofy around me and my house. I miss her touch. Coming back from work and just seeing her was like all my stress and bad emotions were gone in a second. But apart this, a few good things happened in this month cause I got the promotion that I really craved for, even if I got it in the worst moment of my life, and my boss gave me 3 weeks of forced vacations cause he is worried about my mental health and how I work day and night without doing anything else. My therapist told me too to take a few weeks of vacations to clarify my thoughts, and that I'm watching for another house near my work cause my actual house isn't a positive environment, my therapist's words, and because I need a drastic change. So things are this, and unfortunately I still have those suicidal thoughts, but I'm working on it even if again it will take time. So this everything, and I don't think to post anything else from now on cause I don't have anything else to say, fortunately, about my situation. If not, thank you all for your support and private texts. So, people, thank you all, and hopefully even this period of my life will pass without creating too much damage. P.S. My ex-friends never contacted me again and Dana too, so I don't know anything about what is going on between them and sincerely I don't care. Maybe. Top comments. Commenter 1, hey bud, I wish you well. I can only sympathize with your situation. However, from what I've seen on Reddit and the updates people give out, we see that people do find their happiness someday. Being low is something every person has to feel, and I guess it is a way to learn. Count it as a failure if you will, but then maybe as a person looking from an outside perspective, all I can see is new opportunities. If I were in your position, I would be hurt as much as you, but what I learned from my experience and failures over the time of my existence, is that you may look back and think, what a fuss I made of my life over this. Hang in there and good luck. Commenter 2, I'm sorry this happened to you. I actually had something similar myself. I unfortunately walked in on my ex-husband going at it on my best guy friend. I was crushed. I thought I would die. It took about a year to work past it for me. I did a lot of self-work. I went to school, got a degree, dated several people, and eventually found my current husband. We have been married for 12 years and have 3 kids now. I, too, lost nearly all of my friends. It was challenging being alone, but I made it. Both of my parents have been gone for many years, so I did go it alone. I took counseling and just kept looking forward to the day I felt better. I know this hurts. I know you miss her, but it will get better with time. Keep working on yourself. Find new hobbies and work on personal improvements. Throw out anything that was hers. She is essentially dead to you until you are healthy enough to confront her. You can message me if you need to vent. You got this. I bumped into Mary yesterday. Hello people, don't worry, I'm still alive, hahaha. According to my therapist, I can use this little place to vent about my thoughts, the things that happens to me and updates about my life, so here I'm not very good with Reddit, so I hope to do things in the right way. Like I said in the title yesterday, I got a strange meeting with Mary, and it was a better meeting than I thought. So I was at this bar of my city and I was in line to order when Mary recognized me and we had a talk. I offered her a cup of coffee and we chatted a bit about our life, how things are going and all this stuff. I must admit that she seems like a sweet and kind girl, and she immediately asked me if I was mad at her for what happened with Dana, but I assured her that she wasn't the problem at all cause she didn't knew about me as Dana's ex-BF, so she wasn't the problem. Mary said that I was much better now compared to almost 2 months ago, so she was happy about me. According to Mary, the day I made the group and blocked them all, she and Dana argued a lot and they broke up. She told me again that she was extremely sorry for what happened and how this mess all happened, and that if she knew it before she would never have dated Dana before cause she have some values. We chatted for like 2 hours and we knew each other better, after we exchanged numbers, and she told me that if I needed to talk, vent or just rant about something with someone, she would be there for me. I appreciated it a lot, and then I went to my house. It was honestly a nice meeting and I wouldn't bet a cent on it, but it's nice to be wrong sometimes, hahaha. This apart my life since a few days seems to return to the normal. I didn't had suicidal thoughts since 2 weeks, and this is a great achievement to me, and actually my mental health finally is going better. In 3 days I would be in Japan for the 3 weeks vacation, and I hope to be good and to progress always with my mental health, so we will see. That's all, and I never told anyone my name, but I'm Clark. Peace and thank you all for your DMs. I'm starting to believe you and to appreciate your support. Editor's note: OOP has returned with a new update, but this time, he explains the life event taking place in his life after moving forward from his ex. I have news, but they aren't good. You know what? Everything comes to an end, and this is the real beauty of life. January 25th, 2025, 8.5 months later. Hey people, it's still me, Clark. I know that I disappeared for months, but something big happened and made me think a lot about what to do, how to react to this and all this stuff. First of all, I don't see my therapist anymore, and I thanked her for what she did for me cause she really helped me. And now the big news, unfortunately, isn't a good news. I have cancer. To be completely honest, I should have noticed it before cause many things were off, but I always blamed stress, what was happening, my personal issues and all this stuff, but unfortunately it wasn't stress. Now before anyone says it, yes, I'm sure it's cancer cause I had 3 different tests in 3 different hospitals and they went back all the same. But you know what? Is fine. It's one of those curable cancers, but here comes the thing that kept me thinking a lot. I made a promise on my family's grave and I have all the intentions to keep it. For how much for you can be insane or nonsense, for me have a lot of sense. So the thing is this, I'm not going to cure it. I'm just happy to have lived my life. I had incredible ups and incredibles downs, but it's okay. It's life. No one ever told me that life was easy or a fairy tale, and we have to accept it and endure to life our life as we want. I tried to do it, and between ups and downs I'm happy of my life. I met incredible people. I saw how strangers on the internet can really help you. I mean, you guys of Reddit. I had my dream job, I had my dog, and I traveled a lot. But everything comes to an end like it should be. I wasn't expecting to have this short life to live, but it's okay. I take things for how they're. So just this, I made a promise on my family's grave that I will reach them, and I'm going to keep my promise. So folks of Reddit, you made a life of a stranger a bit better, and I will always and forever keep you all in my mind and my heart. I wouldn't bet a cent on it, sincerely, but it's awesome to be wrong in this case, is ahaha. So thank you all. I hope for you all the best life, to see the world, to love like never, to enjoy what all this world can offer you, and remember this, you all made a stranger life better. Love you all and enjoy your life at full. Thanks, Clark. Top comments. Commenter 1, don't give up, Clark. I'm sure that after so many bad experiences, only good things are left to come your way. I hope you take a second thought about it, because dear stranger, some stranger people care about you. I'm sending you a huge virtual hug full of love. Commenter 2, man, I've been following your story for a while and I just want to say how sorry I am that shit went down like this for you. But I really do admire your persistence and refusal to just give in to the darkness. You inspire me and I wish you all the best. Good luck, man. Commenter 3, hey, wish you the best, man. I hope your friends and ex don't bother you, as I believe they still look at your account. You don't need their pity, you need peace that shouldn't be interrupted at a time like this. Wish you the best. Stories number 4. Am I in the wrong after getting angry at my boyfriend for letting his friend see me naked? Context. Happened a few days ago. Me and my boyfriend were staying in a hotel with his friend and his wife. We've been together 3 years. We were all drinking, and after a while his friend and wife left. Me and my boyfriend had drunk sex and then went to bed. After a while his friend came back alone. My boyfriend got up, which woke me up. I was half asleep, and heard the friend say something about my body. My boyfriend asked if he wanted to see. I was on my side away from them and heard them walking over. I panicked and didn't know what to do. Was I supposed to jump up and let them know I was listening, freak out? I have severe anxiety, so this caused an attack. I froze and he lifted up the covers I was under. I was naked. I confronted him the next day, but he says I wanted him to see me because I didn't stop him and he should be upset at me but is understanding and I should be too, so we can let it go. Am I an asshole? Can I not be upset because I didn't stop it? Update, thanks everyone so much for support advice. I've been with this guy forever and we were talking about starting to do foster care and marriage. I thought I was crazy and this wasn't as big a deal as I was making it since I wasn't touched or anything. I'd like to make an update after I talk with him again. When you make one, do you just add it in here or make a new post? I'm new to this. To everyone saying it's ultimately my fault for not doing anything, mental illness is paralyzing. I was sexual abused as a kid and this was the same way my body made me, or wouldn't let me, react. I wasn't sure at first, but I know I didn't do anything wrong. I'm sorry if it seemed like an obvious answer. It's hard to accept these things and it's someone you had a future with. More info. I am hesitant to tell the friend's wife because they have a baby together. I know she should know the kind of man he is, but it makes me think of how I went through divorce, but then again, would he be a good father to the baby girl anyway? Top comments. Commenter 1. He says I wanted him to see me because I didn't stop him and he should be upset at me but is understanding. This is the start of the part of your relationship that, later in life, will make you think, man, I should have ended it after that first incident. Commenter 2. So true, very manipulative behavior and not how you behave to anyone, let alone a partner of 3 years. Commenter 3. Precisely omfk. OP, trust your gut. Our significant other can have any manner of kinks and whatnot, but he did not even ask for your consent. Commenter 4. Leave. Tell the friend's wife. Commenter 5. Yes, that's what I was going to say. She deserves to know that her scumbag husband was willing to let OP's boyfriend sexually show off her vulnerable, naked, drunken friend in a hotel room. Commenter 6. Not just let, but apparently leave his wife and make a special trip down to OP's room for apparently nothing but this. Update. When my boyfriend got home I told him we had to talk, he agreed. I was going to tell him how messed up this was and I am telling his friend's wife, but he talked before me. Turns out I don't need to tell her because he already did. She was upset and asked him to never contact her or her husband again, so I won't know where that side is going. He apologized and said it was a drunken mistake, but he knows that doesn't make it right or hurt me less. We had talked about 3 ways before with women and he didn't think I minded, but now understands I didn't agree. He said he never thought he'd do something like that and he attacked me so much when I confronted him because he knew he was in the wrong but didn't want me to think of him as that guy. He was completely remorseful and I even saw him cry for the second time in 3 years. He said he thinks maybe it was some drunken pride thing over not being able to do much with me. This is because he does have some erectile dysfunction problems and I have had to help him with his self-esteem, as he would often say, I just want to be able to please you, when we could only have sex once every few months. Even so, he went to his parents for now. We had moved to a new state together 2 years ago where they live, but I don't really know anyone. I'm looking at plane tickets to my hometown. Until this incident we have had a perfect relationship. We always hung out and had great times. Only once did we ever have a huge fight, little disagreements but nothing crazy. He did everything he could no matter how annoying or hard to help my mental illness. He wanted to pay for me to go back to school. He believed in me and supported me when I started my writing. He helped me come to terms with my abuse and move on. All the nights he stayed up with me while I cried. I wish this never happened. I don't know if we'll get back together, but he's giving me my space and being respectful. I definitely need to be away from him for a while and think about this. He says he'll give me all the time I need and if I can forgive him he'll be waiting for me. Thanks everyone for the help in getting me through this time. To all the guys messaging me to say it's my fault and I should be happy he wanted to show me off, I hope your dick gets so dry it falls off. Edit, just to add about the drinking. We had a problem with this before where he'd get drunk and act very angry, rude towards me, going as far as insulting me. We talked about it and he no longer drinks regularly. We just drink with friends now, so I definitely think that is a big part of it. This was a couple years ago. It also showed me that he is willing to change for the better to keep us going. But this is also a lot worse than just being a drunk butthead. I also saw the conversation and made sure it was between him and her, so I know he was honest about what happened with the wife. Edit. His friend messaged me and said I had no right to make my boyfriend tell on him and refuse to see him. I haven't replied, but this does show me my boyfriend is trying. Top comments. Commenter 1. To all the guys messaging me to say it's my fault and I should be happy he wanted to show me off, I hope your dick gets so dry it falls off. I just want to reiterate that this is not your fault and anyone messaging you otherwise has serious problems. Commenter 2. But also may it be pointed out that that's the best curse ever. Commenter 3. It's good that he's apologetic and aware of what he did wrong, but also kudos to you for keeping your thoughts clear and taking your time on it. Remorse alone isn't, and shouldn't be, enough to regain your trust, that's entirely up to you. Best wishes to you and stay strong. Commenter 4. I agree with this, I think he is in no way justified by his reasons for doing what he did. However, you know the relationship better than anyone, so it is up to you whether or not you want to give him a chance. Stories number 5. Love isn't enough. 5 things I wish I knew before my marriage fell apart. 34F. I, 34F, used to believe that love could conquer anything. That if two people truly cared for each other, they'd figure it out. After 10 years of marriage and a divorce I never saw coming, I now know how painfully naive that was. The love was real, but it wasn't enough. The first time I realized we were in trouble wasn't during a big fight. It was on a random Tuesday, sitting across from each other at dinner, and realizing we had nothing to say. Silence, once comfortable, now felt like a void. The little things, like him bringing me coffee in the mornings, had stopped. Resentment quietly replaced gratitude. I felt alone even when we were together. And by the time we acknowledged it, we were already too far gone. After the divorce, I spiraled. Therapy and working with a relationship coach pulled me out of it. And let me tell you, there's so much no one warns you about when it comes to love, commitment, and keeping a relationship from dying in slow motion. Here's what I wish I knew before it was too late. Your nervous system decides who you love, not your logic. Ever wonder why you're drawn to certain people even when they're bad for you? That's not compatibility, it's familiarity. If you grew up with instability, your body might mistake anxiety for passion. Safe love can feel boring at first, but it's the kind that lasts. Emotional bids are everything. Every time your partner reaches out, whether it's a joke, a comment, or a random story, they're making an emotional bid for connection. Ignoring these, even accidentally, erodes intimacy over time. Dr. John Gottman found that couples who turn toward each other's bids 86% of the time stay together. The ones who don't, divorce. You're not fighting about the dishes. Arguments are rarely about what they seem. That fight about dirty plates? It's about feeling unappreciated. That argument about texting back late? It's about feeling unimportant. Dig deeper before you react. Books were my saving grace post-divorce. My coach had me read so much that I swear I could get an honorary psychology degree. These 5 changed my entire perspective on love. The 7 Principles for Making Marriage Work, by John Gottman, written by Dr. John Gottman, one of the most respected relationship researchers in the world and the founder of the Gottman Institute. He can predict divorce with 90% accuracy based on how couples argue. If you want to understand what makes love last, read this. Nonviolent Communication, by Marshall Rosenberg. Turns out, most of us were never taught how to express our needs without blaming or attacking. This book is a game changer. How to Do the Work, by Dr. Nicole Lepra. If you want to heal childhood wounds that are messing up your relationships, this is a must-read. The Mastery of Love, by Don Miguel Ruiz, a spiritual and psychological deep dive. It's one of the best books I've ever read on breaking free from fear-based relationships. A must-read for anyone looking to cultivate real, unconditional love. Attached, by Amir Levine and Rachel Heller, the #1 bestseller in relationship psychology. If you've ever wondered why you fall into the same relationship cycles, this book will blow your mind. I used to think love was about grand gestures. Now I know it's built in the tiny, ordinary moments, responding to a text, asking how their day was, choosing patience over sarcasm. If I had truly understood this earlier, maybe things would have turned out differently. If you've been in a long-term relationship or marriage, what's one lesson you learned the hard way? Stories number 6. I, at 44, hired an investigator and have discovered my husband's, M47, affair and sex addiction. What on earth do I do next? My husband, M47, and I, F44, I have been married for just over a decade and it has been, for the most part, a loving marriage centered around our 2 beautiful children. Of course, I've had grievances. He travels a lot for work, is constantly glued to his phone, and sometimes would abruptly pop out 4 errands that he has always been incredibly vague about. Initially these didn't concern me too much. He has a very demanding job that has allowed us to have a lifestyle I never thought possible, meant that I could leave work to be with the children, take us on wonderful holidays, send the children to a great school. I always felt that complaining to him about his work, phone, computer, and random emergencies would be so selfish considering everything he does for us. However, 2 weeks ago, I started getting really suspicious after I had found a condom in the inside pocket of his blazer. There was no reason for him to have it there as we only ever have sex at home and, frankly, it isn't something we do as often as we used to. This prompted me to do something I never thought I would do, but I found an opportunity to get into his phone when he wasn't looking. I'm not sure what I was looking for. I first looked at his photos but couldn't find anything. Then I thought I would check his messaging apps, WhatsApp, Telegram, both were password locked, which I found very odd. Only iMessage could be accessed, but there was barely anything there. At this point, I had a sinking feeling something was up. Last year, a friend was in a similar situation and used a digital investigator to learn more about her absent and secretive fiancé. The investigator found out that this man had been living a complete double life, with a long-term girlfriend in Edinburgh, and, unbelievably, a whole business he had set up and was earning money from. She had no idea about the business or all the money he was earning from it, and no doubt spending on his girlfriend. I asked for the investigators' details and requested that they pull together anything and everything they could find about my husband. The investigator spent about a week digging online and came back to me with a report that changed my life forever. I got a call from the investigator, warning me that my husband's report would be a very difficult read, and that I should open it in private at a time when I would be able to process it fully. Since I received it, I have barely been able to eat, sleep, properly take care of the kids, or speak to him, and yet he is so absent-minded he doesn't even realize something is wrong. It turns out that my husband of over 10 years has been having an affair with a woman 15 years his junior, financing this woman's lifestyle and her failed business venture, attending sex parties with her, where they have sex with other partners, posting in a revolting online sex forum, including pictures of his genitals, and details his addiction to porn and escorts to his creepy online friends. Based on this posts online, has clearly been spending thousands on escorts as far back as 7 years ago. I have no idea where to go from here. I don't know what to do. I have no idea how to confront him about this, or if I should see a lawyer first. I know the obvious decision is to simply divorce, but our children are 9 and 7, I have loved him since we first met 14 years ago, and I know that I have a place in his heart too, in spite of these actions. If he is truly an addict, then maybe there is a way to get through this if he agrees to treatment. I am a complete mess and I can't talk about this to anyone in person just yet. Any advice you have for me would be really appreciated. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, do not confront him. Go see high-powered attorney to see how you can come out on top. A good lawyer will get him to cover services. Get your financials together. Get spousal support, sue for compensation, the money spent on hookers and affairs, child support, have him cover college for both children, pay for all schooling and insurance till 26, get the child tax credits for each year. Because of his chronic infidelity being the cause of the divorce, you can get more than half in the divorce. Also see if you live in state where you can sue her for alienation of affection. Get tested ASAP. Let your lawyer guide you on what to do before you let him know. Also, see as many high-powered attorneys as you can so you have the best shark, and cripple his ability to use them as a lawyer. Don't forget all of his assets, investments, and retirement. Ask for forensic financial audit for any hidden monies. Bill him for everything, and do not leave the marital home. Make Slappy Dick move out. I'm sorry you're dealing with this. But, you gotta strike hard, and be smart. And don't silver line anything or take his word on anything. Reply, thanks for this. Sadly, because we are in the UK, cheating doesn't have much of a bearing on divorce outcomes. However, my solicitor is among the best in the UK and I trust that we are going to do some real damage. Commenter 2, whatever you do, and there is great advice in this thread, please don't blame yourself. There's enough evidence in his behavior to indicate that he'd have done this to anyone, and there's nothing you could have done to foresee this or prevent it. Whatever pain your children will experience from your split will be 100% his fault and you don't deserve to feel any guilt or shame. Reply, I'm still struggling with feelings of guilt. I know this is his doing, but I often feel as though I am a bad mother by not letting my children live in the same home as their father. Commenter 3, I'm sorry you're going through this. Please excuse me. How much does it cost to hire a private investigator? Reply, hello. Sorry to only be responding now. It cost £250 for an initial sweep and then once some fishy things were found, I paid more for some additional hours of digging. Commenter 4, I'm sorry you are going through this. Please seek out a therapist for some support. And please know, you deserve better. Reply, I am planning on getting therapy soon, once things calm down a bit and I can have a bit more time to myself. Commenter 5, 1. Talk to a lawyer before you do anything. 2. no, this is not something that will be fixed, or cured, via therapy. Therapy only works if the person does the work. It isn't a magical cure that resolves giant issues just because you schedule an appointment and show up. The reality is you have been married to someone who was capable and willing to lie to your face systematically. Therapy doesn't just fix that. In fact, if he has a personality disorder, which I suspect based on your post about his behavior, he likely will never change. 3. Do more research into pathological love relationships. Briefly, ask yourself these questions. Does he have difficulties with empathy, egotism, exploitativeness? Aggrandized sense of self. Distorted perceptions of self and others. Self-serving. Boundary violations. Blame shifting. Low remorse. Low accountability, motivated by power, control, personal gain. Just a brief place to start exploring who you are actually married to. 4. Talk to a lawyer and a therapist before doing anything. Someone who specializes in pathological love relationships ideally. Update. Firstly, I'd just like to thank, almost, every single one of you who has commented to leave me advice or message me privately. I took a lot of advice on board, especially legally speaking, and this has proven to be of great benefit. I apologize for my long absence and lack of replies. I hope the update below can explain it. I chose to wait until after New Year's as I did not want to rob the children of one last Christmas and New Year's holiday as a family. In the meantime, I researched solicitors and sought recommendations from trusted friends. Rather humiliatingly, I did, after much urging on this website, also schedule and go through with an STI test. It was horrifically embarrassing, but I am relieved to say that it came negative. I don't know how I could have coped if he had gotten me sick because of his revolting actions. He made my job incredibly easy by flying out for a work trip, not that anything he says could ever be trusted, on the second, and I immediately got the ball rolling, met with the solicitor, packed up all of his belongings into 6 suitcases, had the locks changed, and spoke to a child psychologist to work out the best way to explain things to the kids, who are far too young to understand the full picture, of course. Fast forward to a week later, and upon his return I, having made sure the children were picked up by my mother after school, greeted him to a hallway full of suitcases and divorce papers. I had printed out the report in full and started walking him through it before he started breaking down in tears. It was a compulsion, he was unbelievably stressed, and that if I left him he would have not choice but to marry the other woman, whereas he would end it immediately if I were to take him back. This last part was truly the nail in the coffin. I don't think he even realized just how manipulative a comment that was to make. After hours of a back and forth and of his groveling, he gave up. He was left at the bottom of the stairs in the entrance to our home with his suitcases, waiting for a cab to take him to God knows where. There is still a lengthy legal process ahead, and unfortunately, it turns out that him being unfaithful etc. doesn't really impact how assets might be divided following the legal battle. However, I'm confident that my solicitor will get the outcome I need to keep the house and live independently. In terms of the children, I would rather not discuss them so as to keep it private, but it has been an incredibly difficult adjustment and sometimes I do feel guilty. As for myself, I am still completely heartbroken, and frankly I don't ever hope to find love again. I just don't think I can quite trust like that again. Finally, I'd just like to add that while most comments have been lovely and supportive, I did get a number of comments and private messages blaming me for my soon-to-be ex-husband's behavior, claiming I did not give him sufficient sexual attention and that I shouldn't complain because he provided me with a certain lifestyle. Firstly, these comments are awful and betray a repulsive worldview with regards to sex, intimacy, and marriage. Secondly, our ailing sex life was not my doing and was, at times, and criticism I myself had of our relationship, not the other way around. Thirdly, just because someone provides you with a lifestyle, doesn't entitle them to treat you as if you're nothing, with no respect and no honesty. I would have hoped all would be aware of that. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, affairs do matter if you can account for all the money he spent on the other woman. You deserve half of that, and it is often awarded in court because he spent marital money, which is half yours. Comb through credit card and bank statements for hotel, restaurant, gifts purchased that you never received, etc. This process is painful, but you deserve your half of everything he spent on dating her. If you can't bring yourself to do it, hire someone who will. It can also be used as a powerful bargaining tool if he doesn't want other people to know what he did. Commenter 2, hours of groveling. What a sorry reaction. Anyways, I'm glad he didn't get you sick, and I hope the best for you and your kids as you move on. Commenter 3, what a ridiculous thing for him to say. You have to stay or it will be your fault. I marry this skank I've been fucking. All I can say is I'm so sorry. Also get ahead of him and put in custody agreement that this woman is to have no contact with your children until they reach the age of 18 and decide for themselves if he chooses to stay with her, as she is 50% of the reason they're in need of therapy. But if he meets someone else, same with you. The relationship needs to be going strong for over a year before any introduction. Keep those kiddies safe. Stories number 7. My parents don't care that I performed at the Grammys because they aren't music people. So I'm a high school senior and in our school semi burnt down in the Palisades fires. Because of this our last semester of high school was pretty much ruined. Somehow because of this, some of the senior choir students from my school got the opportunity to perform at the Grammys, like on the stage with Stevie fucking Wonder. It was crazy. Now my parents could give less of a shit. When I asked if they wanted to see the video of us, because I knew they wouldn't watch it on their own, they shrugged it off because we aren't music people, and TBH I'm kinda devastated. Like don't get me wrong, I didn't get much screen time but you can see me and I just wish they cared. To add insult to injury, I joined choir to work on my crippling stage fright that made it impossible for me to present in classes without having a full-blown panic attack and puking. So like I have gone from performing being my worst nightmare to performing in front of thousands, including the musicians I have looked up to all of my life. I just wish they cared about it as much as I did and could see what a huge step this is for me becoming a more confident person. That's all, thanks for listening, smiley face. Edit, OMG I was not expecting this to blow up like it did. Y'all are so kind and I really appreciate all the support. I also appreciate all the different perspectives about what my parents might be going through and how it could impact their responses. It's hard to see it in the moment but it makes it easier to not feel so angry. Also some people were asking for the vid so here it is. Thanks again, and I'll keep responding to y'all, there are just so many of you. Stories number 8. Aita for not staying away from my brother even after my fiancé asked me to. Hey, so I am F25 and my fiancé is M28. We got engaged a month ago so we decided to meet each other's families for the first time in person and give them the news. They knew we had been dating for 1 year prior to this. We invited them all to lunch so we can spend the day together. Overall it went very well but as soon everyone left my husband literally closed the door and told me he needs to talk to me about something in a very stern voice. He sat me down and told me he found my brother's behavior creepy and I asked him what was creepy about him. He said he didn't like the way my brother, M27, is so touchy with me. Now the thing is me and my brother have always been super close and our family's love language is physical affection. Hugging, kissing cheeks and foreheads, keeping head on shoulder etc. are common for us. My brother hugged when he came, a tight hug because we hadn't met each other for months and I'm literally his baby sis. He then hugged my fiancé too and congratulated us and then kissed my forehead and hugged me again and said, I'm so happy for you. He was genuinely very excited and happy. Then after lunch when we were all sitting and talking, he kept ruffling my hair and pulling my cheeks like he has been doing since we were children. Then before leaving, another hug. That was it. He himself is married and my sister-in-law also treats me just like he does. In fact all our family is the same. But for some reason this was weird to my fiancé. He also has a brother and says brothers don't act this way normally. From what I noticed, yes his brother just gave him a side hug and a handshake for me. He was nice otherwise but not very physically affectionate. However my fiancé literally proceeded to tell me that I should stop meeting my brother from now unless he's with me. But I went to see my brother today and my fiancé found out and made a fuss about it. Aita for still going to meet my brother after my fiancé told me not to. Have I broken a boundary or trust? Stories number 9. Tofu by calling a family's recently deceased son a F***king moron. For context, I'm a mailman who works out of the Midwest. I don't have to tell my fellow carriers in this area that the past 3 months have been rough. Not only has my city had snow for 3 weeks straight now, but Christmas package volume hasn't gone down very much. I've been working from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Monday through Saturday for these 3 months, just trying to keep up with the volume. It's also been very cold, and all around I've been extremely stressed out and tired. Well yesterday was no different, as I was told first thing in the morning that I had 2 routes I had to get done on my own, plus any extra packages when I got back. Not only that, but my ProMaster, a bigger mail truck, had been taken on Sunday for maintenance and I'd have to take a much smaller Metris car. This means I'll have much less space for all the mail and packages, but Metris cannot drive through any amount of snow. Not joking, a light dusting on the road will result in you getting stuck. So I was already tired and very frustrated. Fast forward to halfway through my day, and I'm delivering packages to a nicer neighborhood. I see the house that I'm dropping a package at doesn't have any open spots to park on the street, except for in front of their neighbor's fairly long driveway. It's not uncommon for us carriers to block a driveway for a minute to just drop off a package, so I don't think anything of it. Well, I couldn't see the end of the driveway due to the other cars, and as I turned to park I realized that at the end of their driveway is a pretty large pile of snow. I tried to brake and turn, but it was too late. I land right in the middle of this snow pile, completely stuck. I try in vain to get myself out, but for safety reasons we aren't allowed to dig ourselves out. So I have to call the office to get a tow truck, which I'm told may take an hour to get there. This means I'll have to stay an extra hour to get the rest of the packages delivered. Pretty obviously, I'm absolutely livid at this point, cursing up a storm in my car. Well, down the driveway comes a man who doesn't look very happy. He throws up his arms in that "WTF are you doing?" pose, which just makes me more mad. I get out and snap him a "Can I help you?" He snaps back at me with a "What are you doing blocking my driveway?" This is where I fucked up. I'm usually very calm and polite with customers, no matter how rude they are to me. But today I just couldn't control myself, and I say, well, it looks like someone was too lazy to shovel the snow on their driveway into their yard, and instead piled it in the street. The man gets red in the face and looks like he's going to scream at me, but takes a deep breath and says, "My son shoveled this for me," without even thinking about respond, "Well, your son is a fucking moron." I again expect him to yell at me, which in hindsight is exactly what I wanted him to do. Instead he stumbles back like I struck him, and I see tears start to pour from his eyes. He immediately turns and half runs up the driveway, and I can see he's sobbing. I instantly feel confused and extremely guilty, because mailman or not there was no reason for me to speak to him that way. So pretty quickly I follow him up the driveway, where I see their cars parked. On both of the back windshields is a sticker of a boy, with text on top and bottom that says, using a fake name, "R.I.P. Riley, we'll miss you. 2008 to 2025. I feel like I was slapped in the face. Their child had passed 2 weeks ago. I walk to their door in a daze and knock. Both parents answer, a mix of fury and anguish on their faces. That's when the stress and exhaustion from the past 3 months and the intense guilt I was feeling hit me like a brick wall. I dropped to my knees and began to cry, trying to tell them I was sorry in between sobs. To my astonishment, both parents dropped next to me, wrapped me in a hug, and started to cry with me. We stayed like that for a few minutes until I got my crying under control, and I told them why I was so angry and how sorry I was. The dad put his hand on my shoulder and told me he forgave me, which brought on more tears. We introduced ourselves and talked for a bit, but eventually I had to go wait for the tow truck in my car. But as I was waiting, they both came out with winter gear and snow shovels. They were offering to dig me out, which I vehemently refused. I told them I didn't at all deserve their help, but the mother told me, "I cleaned up my son's messes for 16 years because I'm his mother, that doesn't stop just because he passed," which caused me to cry even more. They eventually got me out, and I exchanged phone numbers with them and told them I'd invite them over for dinner later this week. They accepted, and now my wife and I are going to cook them a veritable feast this coming Saturday. TLDR, I fucked up by getting angry at a family's son for shoveling the snow in their driveway onto the street, not knowing he died a few days later. Notable comments. Commenter 1. My favorite part is that you realized your behavior was wrong, went to apologize, then realized their child had passed. You were going to say sorry regardless. Not faultless, but a good recovery. Good job, bud. Glad some good came out of it too and that you will see them again. Commenter 2. If you hadn't apologized, that would have been fucked up. They are mature enough to recognize you were just being human, aka having a bad day. Glad you made some new connections in these tough times. Commenter 3. So much of the human experience in this one post. I love it. Also, your offer, IMO, is amazing. Providing someone a home-cooked meal, sustenance, a basic need, is for me, one of the truest expressions of gratitude and respect. Hope the weather gets better, hope your job is less stressful, hope the family is able to heal. Commenter 4. This was worth the read. Honestly, it's easy to lash back and forth in the heat of things, but sometimes just falling into a deeper level of understanding out of empathy, it really opens you up to important, impactful moments. Thanks for sharing. Update. So first things first, I'd like to say thank you to everyone who posted love and support on the original post. I apologize for not responding to any comments. I really thought I was gonna get torn up in the comments, so I muted the post right after I posted it. I wasn't going to post the story in the first place, but a friend of mine told me about this sub and told me people would love to hear the story. I'll be more active on this post. Now as for an actual update, the parents did have dinner with my wife and I last night, and they are absolutely wonderful people. They, 40 and 42, are quite a bit older than my wife, 28, and I, 27, but that didn't matter in the slightest. We had my family's famous goulash with a very nice bottle of wine they brought with them, and talked almost the whole night. At one point I did work up the courage to tell them about the post, and they were a bit apprehensive at first. But once I read some of the wonderful comments you all had wrote, I did not read them the absolutely disgusting comments some people left. They felt absolutely blessed that so many were supportive of their family and our new friendship. The father did have something he wanted me to include in this update. Before he had his son, he was a lot like me. Very quick to anger, prone to flying off the handle if he was having a bad day. When he had his son, he got a bit better, but was still an angry person overall. When his son died, he had an absolute meltdown, and said some very hurtful things to family members who were trying to be supportive. He's going to feel guilty about that forever, and made a promise to both his wife and son that he would keep his anger under control. Well, then along comes me, his first real test of his new promise. He told me he genuinely believes that his son sent me as a real test to the promise he made him. He encourages everyone to do the same, to approach others with compassion and kindness before anger, as none of us truly know what battles everyone around us is fighting. TLDR, my previous outburst of anger has led to a lifelong friendship. Editor's note, OOP refuses to share the goulash recipe, since it's a family secret. Notable comments. This is the most beautiful update to a tofu I've ever seen on here. I'm glad that the moment of anger turned into something beautiful. I'm not a believer in fate or what have you, but if ever there was a case to be made for, some things really do happen for a reason, it's this. Thank you for updating. I've been thinking about that post and it's amazing to see that you've connected like this and forged a friendship. My faith in the kindness of humanity's been restored on this one. Oh man, I'm crying. Thank you for sharing and please thank your new friends too. I'm going to stop with Reddit today and go be kind to myself and my dog and everyone I see. As someone who has had to work on his anger management, I would like to offer you some advice on how to improve yourself. This first one is going to sound wrong, but it is really important. Don't bottle things up. Let yourself be annoyed or hurt or whatever. Bottling it up is what leads to the explosions. Second, learn to slow down. Breathe a little bit before you start responding to things. Those two things can make a huge difference in your life. Stories number 10. Aita for yelling at my mother, sister and father for a comment they made over my dress at a family wedding. This is so stupid. Backstory for context: I 41 female have always been a chesty woman. Since I was 13 I have been a DD cup. PCOS will do that to you, it comes with hormone changes, weight gain. Rapid growth of facial hair during puberty. After discovering an ovarian cyst the size of a softball was removed, I went from being flat-chested to looking like an adult film star over a few months. I can't help I developed so quickly. Anyway, my mother and father thought they could try and hide it with turtlenecks and baggy clothes. Where you would see teens wearing cute outfits, I looked like a wannabe nun. Covered from head to toe to hide my body. As I grew up it got worse. I get asked to dances and my parents would buy me dresses that covered me from neck to toes. I swear my claustrophobia was at an all-time high living in that house. Because of this I also developed depression, so at this point I didn't care what I looked like and ate a lot, to cope with everything that was going on in my life and mind. I gained weight, a lot of it, and of course that was just another thing for my parents to complain about. Speed forward to now. I'm all grown up now and living on my own. For the past 20 years I have worked on myself and my mental health to the point I lost 182 pounds. I went from a size 26 to a size 10 to 12 depending on the style of clothing. And got my hormones in check. You'd think my family would be happy for me, right? Wrong. I got invited to my cousin's wedding a couple months ago. I went out and bought a dress for the occasion because why not? I never buy things for myself and I wanted to feel good on this day. I bought a beautiful blush pink dress with a sweet heart neckline and 2/3 sleeve with a lace overlay on top. It was the prettiest thing ever and only showed a little of my cleavage. As soon as I walk into the venue my mother and father waved me over to their seats so I could sit with them. As soon as I sat down my father decided it would be the perfect time to tell me while I looked nice it would be better if I would cover up with a wrap or something. I looked at my mother and she is clutching her imaginary pearls and instantly agreed with my father. Like me showing an inch or two of cleavage was the end of the world. I ignored them because I was raised better than to raise my voice in a church. After the ceremony I walked away and didn't say a word. I congratulated my cousin and her husband on the way out. About to head to the reception. And soon as I get in my car with the love of my life I hear my phone blowing up with texts. I glance at the screen and see both my father, mother and even my sister texting me options of wraps I could borrow for the reception. I sighed and said I don't need one because it's 84 degrees and I am already sweating in what I have on. They all respond with, well, if you knew how to dress yourself then we wouldn't have to help you. That's when I lost it. I texted back, you all realize I am 41 years old, I can dress myself right. I know me being big-chested must be so bad for you. Since I'm the one who has to live with them. And has lived with them for over 20 years. This is my body and I will wear what I want where I want. Stop trying to police my outfits. You bitched and blamed me when I was heavier and now that I feel good in my own skin you want to tear me down more. I'm done. I will see you at the reception and if any of you tries to cover me up to save face I will not hesitate to cut you all off. I turned my phone off and had my boyfriend drive us to the reception. He was so proud of me for standing up to my parents that we might have taken a detour to a secluded beach and made out for an hour. LOL. Anyway, once we got to the reception my cousin and aunt pulled me to the side and scolded me for sending my parents the message I sent. I explained to them that they have been policing my clothing for decades and I'm done with it. I'm an adult and I can decide what's appropriate and what's not. My aunt understood but my cousin said she isn't taking sides and wished I hadn't started drama on her day. I told my cousin if she was so concerned with drama then maybe she needed to go talk to my parents and tell them to stop telling people how I upset them. So Reddit, am I the whole? Edit to add, some people in the comments were shocked about the dress color choice. The theme was 2 shades of pink. Just envision the wedding scene from Steel Magnolias, a blush pink and Dusty Rose shade of pink. And to add, my aunt who also had PCOS and was rather large-chested herself before she got a reduction finally understood where I was coming from. My mother was even wearing the same shade of pink as myself. So the cousin was not mad about the pink color dress, she was just upset that I upset my parents and sister. The only other person who was on my side and didn't see a problem with my outfit was my brother. The rest of the reception my brother and boyfriend were playing defense, keeping my parents and sister away from me the rest of the night. There's a whole other backstory behind why I have a strained relationship with my family, but I'll probably make an update on that one at some point. I do want to discuss things with my family, I am just not sure how to start. I don't know if I should go in guns blazing or gently bring it up so they don't feel like I am attacking them. I just want my voice to be heard. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, I don't think you did anything wrong. The only thing different I would have done is not sit with them. I would keep our conversation short if you have to see your parents, but other than that I would go low no contact. But that's just me. Reply, I've been low contact for 20 years since I moved out. I only see them on special occasions. Over the last few years I've been trying to reconnect but it just ends the same way. So I stick to holidays and weddings, funerals to interact. Commenter 2, NTA. And ditto on cousin to call out your family instead of trying to lay blame on you for starting drama after you explained the source of it. That makes me think she shares internalized big tatas are scandalizing like your parents and sister. Just speculating on you cousin's take as an outsider of course, but her mom your aunt even understood sympathize your situation so. Edit, my mind also overthinking that your cousin not taking sides means, I don't want one less wedding gift. Reply, right as of right now I am low to no contact with the cousin as well after her scolding. My aunt had the same issue growing up with PCOS and larger breasts before she got a reduction. It is what it is so I won't cut the aunt off but everyone else who tells me to cover up I have no qualms cutting people off. Commenter 3, NTA look them dead in the eye and ask, why have you been obsessed with your daughter's breasts for 25 years and say literally nothing else raising my voice each time they stopped. If people don't understand what causing a scene is, show them. It's gross that they are doing this. Reply, I understand when I was younger they didn't want people sexualizing me but at 41 years old come on. It's ridiculous if you ask me. How old are OOP's parents? 80s? Reply, close enough, they are in their 70s now. OOP should be proud of herself for standing up for herself to her family. Reply, I love, sister, I'll be using that from now on. And I agree, I honestly think my cousin secretly likes drama and wanted it to continue but she had to be diplomatic in the moment but her annoyance should have 1000% been at my parents not me. It took years for me to finally stand up for myself. This isn't the first time I was made to be the bad guy in situations. When I lost the 182 pounds I was told not to talk about it with people in front of my mom because she was insecure and hurt. So if anyone asked me how I did it, I just had to say I will text you about it later. Commenter 4, NTA. But your parents and sister are. Good for you for standing up to them, finally. Be proud of yourself and your body. That is what makes you beautiful inside and out. Red Heart. Reply, I had a feeling they were going to rope my sister into this. She's their golden child, smart, beautiful, has the golden ticket grandchildren. I just wish they saw me for me and not as an accessory they can pick and choose to have around. Commenter 5, NTA. Good for you for standing your ground. Yay. Your parents and sister suck. Also, what an amazing partner and brother you have to defend you and stand up for you. After explaining, I'm glad your aunt is on your side. Also, I get that bride is upset, but she's upset at the wrong person. She should be upset at your parents and sister, not you. How did she even know? Unless your parents or sister said something. Reply, From what I was told by my brother, the first thing my parents did walking into the reception was show him the text I sent trying to get a reaction out of him. He told my parents that's what I said wasn't wrong. They even tried to put a wrap on my chair that I was assigned. He grabbed it and threw it in his car before I showed up. When he didn't react like they wanted, that's when they pulled the bride to the side asking her to intervene on their behalf. Which then got my aunt involved. I showed them my text response, and that's when my aunt got on my side and the cousin was confused about the whole thing. Update. On Saturday I contacted my brother and sister to talk about what happened a few months ago at the wedding. My sister was hesitant but agreed, and my brother was all in and said he'd be there. We met up at my sister's place and sat down. I started off the conversation that I love my family and would never insult them in any way, but for a 41-year-old woman to be reprimanded over a dress that wasn't even too revealing was ridiculous. My sister tried defending herself and my parents, but my brother put a stop to it right there. He mentioned all the times mom, dad and her would always nitpick my outfits growing up, never allowing me the freedom to have my own personality or style. It wasn't about her, it was about me and how I feel. That shut her up. LOL. All I wanted was for her to see how it feels for me. Always being knocked down when I have something good going on in my life. Always feeling like a second-class citizen in the family. Never living up to their expectations. Not wanting to be the dutiful daughter anymore and wanting to make my own choices and living the life that I want. And it doesn't include covering myself up from the neck down. My boobs were no longer up for discussion. If they can't be happy that I am still willing to be a part of the family, then so be it. And that went for her as well. I laid it all out. If she can't support me against my parents, then I would have to cut her out too. I also mentioned how being cut out of Christmas because of my stunt at the wedding was uncalled for. I told her if she wants to side with mom and dad, that's fine, but I will no longer accept toxic behavior. We are all grown-ups and should act that way. No more involving people into family drama. She agreed. She said she would talk to mom and dad on my behalf because as of right now I am blocked by them. My brother on the other hand decided to be petty. He's planning a family Easter get-together and is going to invite everyone except my parents. He might go over there in the morning to see them and talk some sense into them, but he's not holding his breath on them realizing their mistakes. So as of right now I have both siblings on my side, but we will see for how long that lasts. If I have a blowout with my parents in the future I will update. But as of right now I guess this is all I can give. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, don't be so sure about your sister. She may tell her parents what's going on. Or give in to them. Best to have a plan ready in case they rock up at Easter. Reply, if it happens I know never to trust her again. Commenter 2, your brother is awesome. It must be nice having him have your back. Reply, he wasn't around a lot when I was growing up, 10-year age gap. I'm guessing he saw my parents' toxic behavior way before I did. So I guess this is his way of being there for me now. Stories number 11. Aita for not leaving my own birthday party to drive my best friend home. Hi everyone, this is my first post, so please bear with me. I, 26F, have been best friends with Jake, 27M, for over 6 years. We work at the same company and are also planning to go on a work and travel trip together soon. This situation happened last Friday, which was my birthday. I had planned a big family gathering with over 20 guests, some of whom traveled over an hour to be there. Jake was invited, and he told me he would come. The night before, we went grocery shopping together, but while sitting in the car, he suddenly told me last minute that he wouldn't be attending because he picked up an extra shift at work. I was a little hurt because we always celebrate our birthdays together, and he didn't need to take the shift. Our company has plenty of people who could have covered it. But I accepted it and moved on. On my birthday, we were texting before his shift. For context, Jake doesn't have a driver's license and usually relies on public transport or walks. I do have a license, but I don't own a car. I use my mother's when I need it. That afternoon, he mentioned that he would have to walk home because public transport stops running at a certain time, something he already knew when he took the shift. He also told me he was feeling a bit sick and asked if I could pick him up and drive him home. Our boss even told him he could leave 2 hours early to catch the last bus if he needed to, but he chose not to. I told him I couldn't leave my own birthday party just to pick him up and drive him home. I had guests over, food and drinks to serve, and I felt it would be rude to leave when people had put in time and effort to celebrate with me. He replied, "Can't you just leave for 5 minutes and drive me home?" I explained that it wasn't just a 5-minute trip, I would be gone for at least 30 minutes in total. He replied with a dismissive, "Okay." Later, I checked Find My to make sure he got home safely and texted him, apologizing that I couldn't drive him, reminding him that I normally do, but I really couldn't leave my own party. That's when he got angry and told me my behavior was unacceptable and that I was just making excuses. For further context, I do drive him home fairly often, even when I'm not working the same shift as him. But this time, I had a prior commitment, one that he was originally supposed to attend. I reminded him again that our boss had told him he could leave early to catch the bus. At this point, he started arguing that the town is dangerous at night, but we've both lived here our entire lives, and nothing has ever happened to us. I used to walk at night all the time before I had a license, and another friend of ours, who is also a coworker, regularly walks home late at night without issue. I tried to understand if something else was going on and asked him if maybe he was upset about something deeper and just projecting it onto this situation. I might have worded it poorly, but instead of talking, he just exploded at me. I apologized if I said it the wrong way, but at that point, he wasn't listening to me at all. Meanwhile, he wasn't trying to understand my side either. I told him it was my responsibility to be at my own birthday party, and that my guests had made an effort to celebrate with me. I couldn't just disappear for half an hour. He dismissed that and told me I was a bad friend, a bad sister, because I said I wouldn't drive my sister home either if I had prior commitments and it wasn't an emergency, and that my priorities were all wrong. In the end, he told me he didn't want to see me for a while. I am honestly confused and questioning our friendship after this because of how he reacted. I really tried to understand his side, and I get that he was hurt that I wasn't there for him when he needed me. But at the same time, I couldn't just leave my own party if it wasn't an emergency. Now I don't know if our friendship can bounce back from this or how I'm supposed to rely on him moving forward. If this is how he reacts to something like this, what happens if we end up in a similar situation while traveling? Is he just going to leave me behind if I don't do what he wants? For the context, him feeling sick was related to a sore throat, so nothing that would be classified as an emergency. Fake names for privacy. So, Aita for refusing to leave my own birthday party to drive him home. Consensus, not the asshole, even though it's not an Aita sub. Update. I know this is an early update because my post is just a few hours old, but I thought I will compress more information and some things that happened in the last few hours into an update. First of all, thank you all for the helpful comments. I never expected so many people to relate to this. I'm so sorry for everyone who has gone through something similar. To clarify something I've seen speculated in the comments, there are no romantic feelings involved. He's gay, so there was never any romantic interest between us. After reading a lot of comments and reflecting on everything, I've decided to go no contact, aside from necessary work-related interactions. I've also made the decision to go forward with my work and travel plans alone because I simply can't trust someone like this to be my emergency contact in another country. I had a long conversation with my parents and showed them the chat. My mom actually broke down crying. She told me she's seen narcissistic behavior and red flags in him for years, but things have gotten worse in the last few months. She said this has been weighing on her, and when she laid everything out for me, I finally saw the bigger picture. Even though it wasn't a romantic relationship, I now realize he was isolating me from other friends and family, always trying to make himself the center of my social life. He even tried to insert himself into most of my other friendships, and looking back, any time I made progress in life, he would find a way to hold me back or drag me down. My dad told me that some of the recent arguments I've had with my family were actually their way of trying to get me to see what was happening, but I just didn't recognize it until now. He also said he's relieved I won't be traveling overseas with him. My parents reassured me that while this will be hard at first, I'll heal, and cutting ties now will make things easier in the long run. They also pointed out things I had overlooked, like how he tagged along on family holidays without paying but was never particularly grateful to my family for inviting him. I've started talking to one of our mutual friends about what happened. She's currently busy with the Super Bowl, but once she's back, I'll tell her everything as objectively as possible. I don't want to trash talk him or damage his reputation at work, but if coworkers ask, I'll be honest about why I've distanced myself. I genuinely do wish him the best, and I hope he works through his issues and finds happiness. But I'm done. My mom breaking down in tears was the final straw for me. Even though a lot of my social circle overlaps with him, I know I'll eventually sort everything out and move on. It honestly feels like a friendship divorce, but I think this is a necessary step. I need to reevaluate who my real friends are and how they treat me, and I might need to cut ties with a few other people along the way. I actually texted one of my close friends joking that we're getting a divorce and that I'm filing for custody of her. I really hope she won't be manipulated by him, but right now, I need to be prepared for anything. This won't be easy, but I'll cut my losses and move forward, hopefully toward a better future, with better friends, ones I can truly trust and who put just as much effort into our friendship as I do. Stories number 12. Aita for not forgiving my fiancé for his drunken slip-up before our wedding. I called off my wedding. My fiancé and I have been together for 5 years and were supposed to get married in just 2 weeks. Everything was planned like the venue, the dress, the guests flying in from out of town. I was so excited to start our lives together. Then, his bachelor party happened. I wasn't the type to put strict rules on bachelorette parties. I trusted him. His best man organized a weekend getaway in Vegas with his close friends. I figured it would be the usual drinking, partying and dumb stories I'd hear about later. Instead, when he came home, he acted off, avoiding eye contact, being extra affectionate, like he was trying to make up for something. My gut told me something was wrong. I asked him if anything happened, and at first, he said no. But after a few days of me pressing him, he finally admitted that he had slept with a stripper at his party. He claimed he was blacked out drunk and didn't mean to cheat. His exact words were, "It wasn't intentional." I barely remember it happening. The guys told me she came on to me, and I was too drunk to stop it. I was horrified. He cheated on me, and instead of taking full responsibility, he blamed the alcohol and the situation. His friends backed him up, saying, it was just a stupid mistake, it meant nothing, and that, a lot of guys mess up at their bachelor party. Even my future MIL told me to consider forgiving him because it was a one-time thing and doesn't define your relationship. But I can't just brush this off. This wasn't a minor mistake. I feel this was betrayal. If this is how he acts when he's drunk and surrounded by bad influences, what's stopping it from happening again? Marriage is supposed to be about trust, and now, I don't know if I can ever trust him the same way. I told him the wedding was off. He broke down, begged me to reconsider, and swore it would never happen again. He even offered to go to therapy or do whatever it took to prove he was sorry. But to me, the damage was done. I just want to know if Aita for not forgiving my fiancé for his drunken slip-up before our wedding and decided to move on. Stories number 13. Aita if I cut my losses and give up on one of my daughters. Aita. I don't know if this is Reddit worthy but I am lost and I feel like I'm about to snap if I haven't already. I have a niece I am fostering. She lived with me from 3 years to 8 years and mom wanted to be a mom again and took her only to give up a year and a half later. In that year she influenced her so bad that I cannot get a grip on it. She came back to me at 10 YRS and is now 13 years. In that time she has destroyed everything we buy her, had numerous BFs, lied about a bad encounter, torn cut shirts to look provocative, worn heavy makeup, cut her own hair, shared our home location on social media to men, gotten on social media through other people's phone, wanted to marry little boys and run off to Arizona, lied to people public friends about how we have her as a prisoner in the home, cut her person, and so much more. She is in therapy and due to the stress it has caused in the home, so are all of us. I work from home and have a newborn so the sharing location has me so nervous. But, the recent incident was when she got aggressive with a teacher and demanded a little boy be removed from the class that lead me to call CPS and explain that I can no longer do this. My family is saying I'm an asshole because they just don't see it in her. That she is an innocent victim of her mother's abandonment and lifestyle and I should have more compassion, but I feel like I'm at my wit's end. My daughters are mad I still include her in family things when she has not earned it, or that I still buy her stuff when she has been such a pain at the home. Also they are upset and angry because the bad thing she lied about was my husband and thank the Lord she admitted it to the officers it was for attention because she liked that her friends comforted her. She likes to be victim and will lie to get the attention and create drama. It got to my kids' friends and now they are embarrassed to go to school. We ask her all the time, do you want to be here, and she cries and says yes but she tells her counselors that she doesn't know why she does these things. It's always one thing after another and we never rest in my home. We are all girls in this home and now have to have cameras on all the time because we don't know who she shares our location to and send provocative photos to. I've grounded her from phone, TV, snacks, everything I can think of and she finds a way to get it. I'm lost. Therapy is not helping and I'm losing my family over a little girl who will not meet me halfway. I'm so lost. She has been diagnosed multiple personality disorder which is why my family doesn't see it, but they say I shouldn't have taken her in if I don't want her. I do. She my daughter. But, she's damaging us and I'm lost, I don't know if I should cut my losses or keep going and I don't have the energy for it and I'm emotionally drained. I cry every day and I'm so depressed already. Maybe I just needed to vent, I don't know. Is this my fault? Stories number 14. Aita for refusing to attend my sister's wedding because she wants to repurpose my wedding dress. Throwaway account because family knows my name. I, 28F, got married last year in a small but beautiful ceremony. My husband and I spent months planning every detail, and the highlight for me was my wedding dress. I saved up for years to buy this dress, it was my dream dress. It's this beautiful lace, A-line gown with intricate beadwork and a long train. I felt like a princess and still get emotional just thinking about it. Fast forward to now, my sister, 26F, is engaged, and her wedding is coming up in 6 months. She recently came over to our place to chat about wedding plans. At one point, she casually mentioned that she'd love to borrow my dress. She thinks it would be cute to repurpose it, maybe by shortening the skirt or even dyeing it a different color so it's unique to her. I was taken aback. I told her I wasn't comfortable with her altering my dress, especially since it has a lot of sentimental value to me. She got upset and said I was being selfish because she wanted to save money on her wedding, and families should support each other. When I stood my ground, she accused me of not caring about her big day and stormed out. My parents later called me and said I was breaking her heart by refusing to share. They said that since I'm married and done with the dress, it shouldn't be a big deal. But it is a big deal to me. I want to keep my dress as it is. They suggested I just let her have her way to avoid family drama, but honestly, I feel like it's my dress and my decision. Now my sister says she won't feel comfortable with me at her wedding unless I show my support by letting her use the dress. I don't want to miss her wedding, but I also don't want to give in to something I'm not comfortable with. Aita for refusing to let her repurpose my wedding dress and considering not attending the wedding. Update: my sister stole my wedding dress, so I stole her wedding. Well, folks, buckle up because this situation went from a soap opera to a full-blown telenovela. So after my last post, I took everyone's advice and locked my dress away in a safe place. My sister continued guilt-tripping me, my parents doubled down on calling me selfish, and I continued standing my ground. Then, a week ago, the dress went missing. My childhood spidey senses tingled, and sure enough, my mom accidentally let it slip that my sister had borrowed it. Borrowed. As in, stole. I was furious. I immediately drove to my parents' house, and there it was, my effin' dream dress, laid out on the dining table like some sort of sacrificial lamb, with fabric samples and scissors nearby. I lost it. I grabbed the dress, stormed out, and on my way home, I got a text from my sister. If you take that dress, don't bother coming to my wedding. Oh. Game on. I went home, poured myself a big glass of wine, and started thinking. Then, like a vengeful rom-com protagonist, I had the most petty, most diabolical idea ever. I booked a spa weekend for my husband and me on the same day as her wedding. Not just any spa, a luxury, 5-star, champagne-filled getaway. Then, I posted about it on social media. With the caption, "So grateful to be spending this weekend with the love of my life, celebrating the best decision I ever made, my wedding. Wishing everyone a day as joyful as ours was." She went ballistic, blowing up my phone. Screaming in texts. Calling me a jealous, bitter bee for ruining her big day. Our parents begged me to apologize, saying my sister was inconsolable. I told them, oh, so now it's a big deal when someone's special moment is ruined. Funny how that works. And let me tell you, I have never sipped mimosas more victoriously than I did that weekend. Now, my sister still isn't talking to me, my parents are disappointed, and I'm still in possession of my wedding dress. And honestly, I have never been happier. NTA. And I regret nothing. Stories number 15. Reacted to your message might be the worst thing happening nowadays. 25F, 24M. So I write a cute text to him, and this is what I get most of the times. Reacted red heart to your message. Like dude, I took time to write and appreciate you, you can't even write thank you. What the hell is an emoji reaction? This is by far the worst update in WhatsApp. What happened to people verbally acknowledging your texts? Even happens while I talk with friends, seems like the easiest way to end conversation without coming off as a douche. I understand it's okay to do it on some occasions, but this is becoming a habit. TLDR, hate when people react to the message and don't reply. Comments. Commenter 1, tell him nah dude, that you find this infuriating, if he doesn't improve then move on and break up. Choco Burrito 69, well yes that's the truth, liking a message lets you off the hook without coming in like a douchebag than not replying at all, but you gotta appreciate if someone took his her time to write full message. Commenter 2, girl don't blame WhatsApp just because your man is trash. Commenter 3, I thought this was an issue men had with women. The yeah experience. If it's just ending conversations it's not something to be concerned about. It's difficult to end a conversation on text properly when you really want to just keep talking because you continue a text conversation you're enjoying far beyond the point where you'd have had to stop a conversation when talking face to face or on the phone. I recommend saving all conversations worth having for face-to-face talks and FaceTiming. There's a very good chance that someone ends a conversation with the heart reaction because they've already extended it far beyond what they have time for and still left a cute reaction so they don't make you feel like they were not enjoying it because of how quickly they had to leave. It's not that they're leaving as soon as something comes up, it's probably that they were on the way to some task and kept talking till the last second with you and therefore the act of ending the convo had to be abrupt. Of course you could just be bothering someone who's not interested in your advances and they're trying to hint at that while trying to not be rude and hoping you'll get the message. And lastly, they could be interested but unfortunately you're very boring to talk to and they just leave a reaction when they need a break after carrying the conversation for so long. So many possibilities, just ask the guy and get it over with. If he's being vague, it's that last one and he doesn't want to offend you. If you shared what the cute text you sent him was, we could help you narrow down what it is, and also if the text was really cute. P.S. If you told him you don't like it when he just responds with a reaction, he'll stop doing it no matter what the situation is and give you what you want. Or tell you he's not interested and to stop texting him. Update 1. Someone in the comments asked if I could write the cute text here so people can better analyze if it was indeed cute or I'm in general boring. Here it is. Hey cutie, I know you are sleeping right now, but I have been wanting to tell you how much I miss you. I just wish you come here early and we can go on a date after so long. I am sorry for feeling a bit negative yesterday, I guess I was just missing you too much, that's why I was quiet when we couldn't PC. Jabiega tab waffle Kenj, his favorite. I can't study thinking of what else we are gonna do when you visit. Heavy heart exclamation. I really miss your face. People who are going to cringe, kindly don't comment. I see nothing wrong with my text as of now. All I got was a reaction to the text after he woke up in the morning. It's now evening. Also let me add, we are in LDR since a year and before that we were together for 4 years in non-LDR. Comments. Commenter 1. Okay, now that Op has updated the post with a sample, cute message, and added more context of them being in a relationship as well, I do think the guy is wrong. I thought it might have been just a small little cute message, but if you send a wall of text and get no reply, there is a problem. And that too multiple times. God damn, that's cold. Commenter 2. You make him speechless. Commenter 3. Honestly, some people can't reply to such texts. I will be making an assumption here. Okay, he may be compelled to reply with a similar message as he might think he has to reciprocate the same through a message. Or he may not be able to show his feelings through text that clearly. All in all, it results in him just liking the message. People have different kinds of love languages. My love language is act of service. I like to do things for my loved ones. You seem to have words of affirmation as your love language. Though I will say a general thank you my love, I can't wait to meet you too. Red heart would have been easy, but again I don't know anything about him either, so it's just me making an ideal scenario. Communicate this with him, tell him to acknowledge your words. Don't leave things unsaid. Commenter 4. Sister, transfer a little of your energy to my GF please. She's like your boyfriend and I'm more like you. It's frustrating when you don't receive the same energy back. I explained in detail to her about it and also told I would love it if she reciprocate in a few more words and put effort. So far no change in behavior, so I've had enough. Now I give her the same cold treatment. Update 2. As a lot of people suggested that I communicate with him, I did today. Although I've communicated about it in the past too. I told him my side of the story, how I feel, my love language, and that I'm okay with him not expressing his emotions. I don't wish to force it. But at least show me some acknowledgement. His reply was, you know I don't talk about my emotions with anyone. OFC, I'm interested in what you wish to say. I trust every word you say and you should trust me that I am interested in whatever you write. This is who I am generally. Baki Terry Marzi. I don't even know what to reply to this. Comments. Commenetre. You want to know the real purpose of an emoji? 1. Sometimes we have no idea how to respond with a text. That's when people make use of an emoji, to seem less awkward. 2. You don't want to disturb someone with an okay, and I understand. So you send an emoji, which doesn't disturbs much. Stories number 16. Gave my ex a surprise when I left unexpectedly. My ex and I were planning on separating. It was a toxic relationship. He was a controlling narcissist and I had been under his thumb for far too long. I was in counseling and my therapist and I mapped out the best way for me to get out, although the details of the plan were my idea. I got a better paying job. I opened my own bank account. That was a huge fight, and I figured out where to go. He knew I was leaving and he even went through the house and marked all of the things that were his that I couldn't take with me. Which was basically everything we purchased throughout our 13 years together. I was only allowed to take the items that I came with when we moved in together. He planned to take the day off from work on a particular Saturday and would be there to supervise my move to ensure that I only took what he approved. That's where my plan began. The Saturday before his planned date, I scheduled to move after he left for work. He worked long days, so I knew I could pack and leave before he returned. About an hour after he left, my friends and family showed up with boxes and tape and a moving truck. I parked it out back so my neighbors didn't see it. In less than 4 hours all of my belongings were packed and on the truck, and I pretty much stuck to his rules, because I didn't want reminders of our life in my future. Before I left in the truck, I went through and grabbed every single towel, washcloth, sheet, toilet paper, paper towel, napkin and tissue. I took anything and everything that he could wipe his butt or his nose with. And I took the carpet runner that was at the front door, leaving the tape that secured it to the floor. That way he knew as soon as he walked in, that I was gone. Imagine coming home from work after a long day, expecting one thing and finding another, and then not having a single tissue or toilet paper to use. My best revenge was building a happy new life, but that day made me feel so good. Edit, for those who care, yes, actually diagnosed. We were originally in therapy together. I forgot to add that he deemed the bed as his, so I couldn't take it. But he never mentioned the mattress and box spring, which I also took. Stories number 17. Aita for telling my fiancé he doesn't have my back when he told a humiliating story about me in front of his entire family. A long time ago, back when low-rise jeans were popular, my boyfriend and I ran into Walmart for some things. I had to get some items on the lower shelf, so I hitched my pants up as high as I could and bent down. I had to grab a few things, and I guess in that time a mother and small son came down the aisle and stood behind me. I guess that kid's face was like 12-inch from my butt crack. Guess the mom noticed and wasn't too happy. Those jeans got thrown out the next day and never bought a pair of low-rise jeans again. It's been 14 years. We were invited over to his sister's family's house for the Super Bowl. We're having a great time, and if a sudden he decides it's a great time to tell that story in front of his entire family and his sister's new husband's family. Not only that, but tells it using descriptives like disgusting, and made me look just about as trashy as possible, and then said that I knew it was happening and didn't care, and told him to shut up when he told me they were there, which never happened. In the car, he goes, "Are you mad?" I told him that he's demonstrated that he's someone who doesn't have their partner's back. I told him that was a betrayal. BC he knew that story was embarrassing. He said that BC he thinks I have no reason to be embarrassed, that he's done nothing wrong, and it's crazy of me to say he doesn't have my back. I feel like he just wanted laughs and attention, and he didn't care at all that it came at my expense. One big reason why I feel like he doesn't have my back: he decided to knowingly break the law because again, he thought he knew better, and got arrested and spent 7 months in prison, leaving me holding a huge bag of shit and needing to do everything on my own during that time, including pay all our bills. He's been out for about a year. During that time I bought us a house. By myself. For 12 years he didn't have his license, so I did all our driving. If I got a flat or something, I had to call my parents. My parents had my back while he was gone, too. So if this is just leftover resentment from all that, or if I actually do have a legit reason to feel hurt, betrayed, I just feel like after every sacrifice I've made for us entitles me to what I would consider to be adequate treatment from him. Am I overthinking this? Stories number 18. Aita for not leaving my own birthday party to drive my best friend home. Hi everyone, this is my first post, so please bear with me. I, 26F, have been best friends with Jake, 27M, for over 6 years. We work at the same company and are also planning to go on a work and travel trip together soon. This situation happened last Friday, which was my birthday. I had planned a big family gathering with over 20 guests, some of whom traveled over an hour to be there. Jake was invited, and he told me he would come. The night before, we went grocery shopping together, but while sitting in the car, he suddenly told me last minute that he wouldn't be attending because he picked up an extra shift at work. I was a little hurt because we always celebrate our birthdays together, and he didn't need to take the shift. Our company has plenty of people who could have covered it. But I accepted it and moved on. On my birthday, we were texting before his shift. For context, Jake doesn't have a driver's license and usually relies on public transport or walks. I do have a license, but I don't own a car. I use my mother's when I need it. That afternoon, he mentioned that he would have to walk home because public transport stops running at a certain time, something he already knew when he took the shift. He also told me he was feeling a bit sick and asked if I could pick him up and drive him home. Our boss even told him he could leave 2 hours early to catch the last bus if he needed to, but he chose not to. I told him I couldn't leave my own birthday party just to pick him up and drive him home. I had guests over, food and drinks to serve, and I felt it would be rude to leave when people had put in time and effort to celebrate with me. He replied, "Can't you just leave for 5 minutes and drive me home?" I explained that it wasn't just a 5-minute trip, I would be gone for at least 30 minutes in total. He replied with a dismissive, "Okay." Later, I checked Find My to make sure he got home safely and texted him, apologizing that I couldn't drive him, reminding him that I normally do, but I really couldn't leave my own party. That's when he got angry and told me my behavior was unacceptable and that I was just making excuses. For further context, I do drive him home fairly often, even when I'm not working the same shift as him. But this time, I had a prior commitment, one that he was originally supposed to attend. I reminded him again that our boss had told him he could leave early to catch the bus. At this point, he started arguing that the town is dangerous at night, but we've both lived here our entire lives, and nothing has ever happened to us. I used to walk at night all the time before I had a license, and another friend of ours, who is also a coworker, regularly walks home late at night without issue. I tried to understand if something else was going on and asked him if maybe he was upset about something deeper and just projecting it onto this situation. I might have worded it poorly, but instead of talking, he just exploded at me. I apologized if I said it the wrong way, but at that point, he wasn't listening to me at all. Meanwhile, he wasn't trying to understand my side either. I told him it was my responsibility to be at my own birthday party, and that my guests had made an effort to celebrate with me. I couldn't just disappear for half an hour. He dismissed that and told me I was a bad friend, a bad sister, because I said I wouldn't drive my sister home either if I had prior commitments and it wasn't an emergency, and that my priorities were all wrong. In the end, he told me he didn't want to see me for a while. I am honestly confused and questioning our friendship after this because of how he reacted. I really tried to understand his side, and I get that he was hurt that I wasn't there for him when he needed me. But at the same time, I couldn't just leave my own party if it wasn't an emergency. Now I don't know if our friendship can bounce back from this or how I'm supposed to rely on him moving forward. If this is how he reacts to something like this, what happens if we end up in a similar situation while traveling? Is he just going to leave me behind if I don't do what he wants? For the context, him feeling sick was related to a sore throat, so nothing that would be classified as an emergency. Fake names for privacy. So, Aita for refusing to leave my own birthday party to drive him home. I know it is early to update, but I have received a lot of valuable advice in the comments. I am so grateful for y'all. I did reflect and had a talk with my parents. That revealed more information. Here is the link to the update. I know this is an early update because my post is just a few hours old, but I thought I will compress more information and some things that happened in the last few hours into an update. First of all, thank you all for the helpful comments. I never expected so many people to relate to this. I'm so sorry for everyone who has gone through something similar. To clarify something I've seen speculated in the comments, there are no romantic feelings involved. He's gay, so there was never any romantic interest between us. After reading a lot of comments and reflecting on everything, I've decided to go no contact, aside from necessary work-related interactions. I've also made the decision to go forward with my work and travel plans alone because I simply can't trust someone like this to be my emergency contact in another country. I had a long conversation with my parents and showed them the chat. My mom actually broke down crying. She told me she's seen narcissistic behavior and red flags in him for years, but things have gotten worse in the last few months. She said this has been weighing on her, and when she laid everything out for me, I finally saw the bigger picture. Even though it wasn't a romantic relationship, I now realize he was isolating me from other friends and family, always trying to make himself the center of my social life. He even tried to insert himself into most of my other friendships, and looking back, any time I made progress in life, he would find a way to hold me back or drag me down. My dad told me that some of the recent arguments I've had with my family were actually their way of trying to get me to see what was happening, but I just didn't recognize it until now. He also said he's relieved I won't be traveling overseas with him. My parents reassured me that while this will be hard at first, I'll heal, and cutting ties now will make things easier in the long run. They also pointed out things I had overlooked, like how he tagged along on family holidays without paying but was never particularly grateful to my family for inviting him. I've started talking to one of our mutual friends about what happened. She's currently busy with the Super Bowl, but once she's back, I'll tell her everything as objectively as possible. I don't want to trash talk him or damage his reputation at work, but if coworkers ask, I'll be honest about why I've distanced myself. I genuinely do wish him the best, and I hope he works through his issues and finds happiness. But I'm done. My mom breaking down in tears was the final straw for me. Even though a lot of my social circle overlaps with him, I know I'll eventually sort everything out and move on. It honestly feels like a friendship divorce, but I think this is a necessary step. I need to reevaluate who my real friends are and how they treat me, and I might need to cut ties with a few other people along the way. I actually texted one of my close friends joking that we're getting a divorce and that I'm filing for custody of her. I really hope she won't be manipulated by him, but right now, I need to be prepared for anything. This won't be easy, but I'll cut my losses and move forward. hopefully toward a better future, with better friends, ones I can truly trust and who put just as much effort into our friendship as I do. Stories number 19. Cancer doesn't wait. Matched energy. Back when I was 14 in HS I was diagnosed with skin cancer, nothing really crazy but it was caught early and so removing it in an outpatient setting was the treatment plan. Now I had the hard-ass type of teacher for my last period, taught math and with a real stick-up-his-butt kind of guy. Enjoyed lecturing students for small things, for example yawning wasn't allowed in his class because it is something you do when you're bored and is disrespectful. You get the picture. He really didn't like me because I wasn't doing well in his class and he took it as a personal front I guess. Well I ended up having to miss his class a couple times due to procedures to remove the cancer and he was livid. In front of the class he told me, "You do not need to be missing my class with your grade this low. Pick a different class to miss." So I, with stitches still on my arm and back told him, "Sorry, guess I'll tell the cancer to wait next time." He went silent, didn't say a damn thing and went back to teaching. He didn't yell at me in front of the class after that, still was mean but left me alone if I missed class for an appointment. Stories number 20. Aita for guilting my family about sleeping arrangements for our trip. Not the a-hole. My family are all staying at my parents' next month and my 2 siblings are all insisting they can't share rooms with their children. One sibling wants 3 rooms, one for them and one for their 5 years old, one for their 3 years old. The other sibling said they need one for them then one for their 9 months old as they won't sleep in a cot in the same room as their parents. Now he's transitioned to his own room at home. Therefore this means that my parents are saying they will just sleep on the sofa and give their room to my sister, which I feel is ridiculous as one of the little ones will be in a crib in a room with an unused double bed. I am staying in a hotel nearby with my child and husband as our little one doesn't sleep well and we don't want to be the reason everybody is woken up. I told them this is ridiculous, and somebody should share a room with their child as my poor parents in their 70s shouldn't be sleeping on the sofa. They think I don't understand but I'm being an asshole by guilting them. I'm not staying there so I shouldn't have an opinion. Therefore. Ida, note this is only for 2 nights. Edit. Okay, it's clear to me I'm not being ridiculous by suggesting room shares and I'm going to just enjoy my hotel and sleep soundly and sit back and stay out of it. Stories number 21. Cheated on after 20 years of marriage. My wife, 44F, and I, 55M, got married in Luxembourg in October 2004. I was a Marine stationed at the US Embassy and she was a Welsh barmaid working at an Irish bar. I always joked that it was the United Nations of hookups. She was a smoking hot 24 years old Spitfire who lived life at Mach 5 with her hair on fire, and we had fun. The past few years have been a struggle. She's complained about being unhappy and I can feel how much she dislikes being around me. I consistently asked her what it was about me that she couldn't get past, and her default answer was always, "I don't know." I asked what her vision of happiness was and what, if anything, brought her joy. I got the same answer. I wanted to be the best version of me for her, so I started seeing a therapist a few months ago, and it's been great. Despite my improvements, she was still unhappy. I asked if we were too far gone and if she wanted a divorce. Her response, "I don't know." This scenario played out a few times over the past couple of weeks, until this past Sunday when she finally mustered the courage to say she doesn't like a lot of qualities that I bring to our marriage and that wants to separate. I agreed that we have serious issues to work on and maybe her seeing a therapist could help her sort out some feelings, and that we should also go to couples therapy to work on our communication skills. I'd brought this option up many times in the past, but she was always very quick to dismiss it and seemed unwilling to put in the work. Fast forward to this past Monday. Our 8-year-old daughter was getting ready for bed, so I went upstairs to tell her goodnight. I asked my wife if she was okay, and she said she just wanted to be alone. I went back downstairs. I was running all of our conversations through my head and I couldn't stop thinking about how quick she seemed to want to quit. I naturally suspected another guy might be involved. Both of our phones are on the same Verizon account, so I went and looked at her call logs. There was one particular number that was called numerous times at various times and various durations. I asked whose number it was and she said she'd never seen it before. I asked to see her phone, and she tossed it to me without hesitation thinking I'd only look at the recent calls, which I did but she had already deleted the numbers. I went to her contacts and entered the number and sure as shit a contact came up named the Water Guys. For the next 5 minutes the woman I've loved for the last 20 years was twisting in the flame. I had trusted her with my world. We built a life together, have 2 beautiful kids, a great friend group, love our community. And here she was providing a lie for every question I asked her. It wasn't until I dialed the number and put it on speaker that she confessed. She's been seeing some guy she met at work for the past 3 months, and apparently has no plans to stop. I am fucking gutted. Every day is a new low. As of yesterday, I naively thought there might still be a chance, but she made it clear that she doesn't even want to try. My kids are racked with anxiety and uncertainty. It's a living nightmare. I know I need to be strong for them, but it's damn near impossible. How do I get us through this without losing my fucking mind? Stories number 22. AIO for breaking up with my partner over my inheritance money drama. Red heart adhesive bandage relationship. So, I, 29F, recently got an unexpected inheritance of $12,000. I was really excited because I had plans to pay off some debts and maybe invest a bit for my future. When I told my boyfriend, 31M, of 4 years, I thought he'd be happy for me. Instead, he immediately started pushing this idea that we should spend about half of it on a fancy home renovation. I mean, our place is totally fine the way it is, but he kept going on about how it needed a major upgrade. I told him I wasn't comfortable with that idea and that I had my own plans for the money. That's when he blew up at me, calling me selfish and tight-fisted, and insisting that I was putting our future on hold just to save money. What started as a calm conversation quickly turned into a shouting match. He even dragged up every little expense I'd ever made in the past, trying to paint me as someone who's always been too cheap. In the days that followed, things got even more intense. He started telling our friends that I didn't care about our relationship and was being miserly, basically trying to guilt-trip me into changing my mind. It became clear that this wasn't really about the renovation at all, it was about control and how he sees our future together. Eventually, I decided to break up with him. I can't let someone who doesn't respect my choices or my financial plans stay in my life, especially when it all comes down to him trying to control what I do with my own money. Some friends say I overreacted and that relationships sometimes require compromise, but honestly, this was about more than money. AIO. Stories number 23. My parents don't care that I performed at the Grammys because they aren't music people. So I'm a high school senior and in our school semi burnt down in the Palisades fires. Because of this, our last semester of high school was pretty much ruined. Somehow because of this, some of the senior choir students from my school got the opportunity to perform at the Grammys, like on the stage with Stevie fucking Wonder. It was crazy. Now my parents could give less of a shit. When I asked if they wanted to see the video of us, because I knew they wouldn't watch it on their own, they shrugged it off because we aren't music people, and TBH I'm kinda devastated. Like, don't get me wrong, I didn't get much screen time, but you can see me and I just wish they cared. To add insult to injury, I joined choir to work on my crippling stage fright that made it impossible for me to present in classes without having a full-blown panic attack and puking. So like, I have gone from performing being my worst nightmare to performing in front of thousands, including the musicians I have looked up to all of my life. I just wish they cared about it as much as I did and could see what a huge step this is for me becoming a more confident person. That's all, thanks for listening, smiley face. Edit. OMG, I was not expecting this to blow up like it did. Y'all are so kind and I really appreciate all the support. I also appreciate all the different perspectives about what my parents might be going through and how it could impact their responses. It's hard to see it in the moment, but it makes it easier to not feel so angry. Also, some people were asking for the vid, so here it is. Thanks again, and I'll keep responding to y'all, there are just so many of you. Stories number 24. Wibta if I sold my friend's concert ticket after she hasn't paid me back. Not the a-hole. My friend and I bought tickets to see MCR in a few months. I set aside money to buy both tickets and sat in the queue for them. It was about $270 for both, which means she owed me $135. We are both college students, and I have expenses with grad school coming up, but I can afford to go to this concert and it's not a problem. I bought those tickets back in November, and she promised to pay me back then after her next paycheck. Lo and behold, it's now February, and I have yet to receive the money. I set a few deadlines, asking for it consistently, but not trying to be annoying about it. She keeps making excuses, complaining that she has no money, but at that time, I watched her get a $300 tattoo, and she's getting another one next week. I'm tired of being out of this kind of cash, and tired of the excuses when I know she's just not prioritizing it. She, to me, can't afford this concert. I'm tempted to just sell her ticket. Would that be wrong to do? Stories number 25. Tubs of butter are taking up all the room in our tiny fridge. I had no idea this would be the hill I wanted to die on, but here we are. In our office, on our floor we have a kitchen area with a small dorm-sized fridge. There are 13 of us in our little area, although with part-time and working from home, 6 to 10 is more normal most days. The bottom of the fridge is taken up by the office milk, leaving 2 rather small shelves. Often people pop out at lunch and get some shopping and fill the fridge after lunch, but at that point everyone has taken out their lunch and it's mostly okay, although sometimes very difficult to shut. The problem is the 6 full-sizes tubs of margarine butter. Seriously. Of 13 people, there are 6 of these. Sometimes 5, but usually 6. I first brought this up jokingly that this was ridiculous, and a couple people defensively said they were sharing. This is a tiny fridge, with their 6 tubs, and if I am not first in, I cannot put my lunch in the fridge. I have started bringing a cold bag or something that doesn't need refrigeration. I mentioned that each tub is bigger than 1/13 of their share of the fridge, and I just get, but I have toast in the morning. Sigh. I just think it's so selfish, and I've been as upfront about it as I can think, and people just do not see that a full-sized tub is too big for a teeny shared fridge. I'm annoyed but not insane. This isn't a management thing, but I would like to understand why their big tubs of margarine trump my lunch. You may just advise I take up meditation or up the martial arts training to channel my aggression, but maybe you or the readers have a brilliant suggestion here to transform coworkers into sensitive space sharers. I really like a cold Diet Coke. Update. Thank you for answering my question. Unfortunately, getting a larger fridge was not going to happen. The building manager laughed when I asked. Really laughed. Like head back full mirth. Other departments with more people have the same size fridge, so it was never going to happen. Your readers were so helpful though, and it really enabled me to clarify my thinking here. I realized what I was bothered about was the lack of cold Diet Coke. I could live with merely cool lunch, but not having that cold Diet Coke felt massively unfair next to their big space-hogging butter. One of your readers also suggested using an empty butter container for the Diet Coke as well, which pleased me immensely. That way it wouldn't get knocked over or taken out of the fridge for someone else's lunch. So I have attached 2 photos. First is the Diet Coke in a clean empty butter container, and the second is our fridge when I was first in the office. Mine is the Country Life container front and center. Please note the other 5 butter margarine containers that live in there, as well as the Dairy Leah, which technically is a cheese spread but I think should count here. For the record, I take the empty container out of the fridge when I've had my Coke at lunch, so if anyone gets some shopping they can put it in the fridge until they take it home. I'm not a monster. I have cold Diet Coke and feel satisfied at the subterfuge which allows me to put up with this insanity. Thanks again for the response and reader support. Stories number 26. A most glorious day, return to office mandate. Fed only. Today is my first day back in the office on a full-time basis. It feels so good to finally be accountable again. For 5 years, since the start of the COVID hoax, I have been on vacation. I have been begging to be held to a standard again, to be forced to do my job, to be rescued from my laziness. I am elated beyond belief that the day in which I commence working again has finally arrived. Make no mistake, fellow feds, it is we who are the problem. It certainly is not Congress who presided for decades over the slow death of the American dream. It is not the politicians in Washington who destroyed the economy by enacting tax cut after tax cut for the wealthy while ballooning the budget and creating a massive debt that can never be repaid. No, our elected leaders have not engendered a deep hatred of our system of government by its own people through failing to ensure workers are paid a living wage while allowing corporations across every sector to consolidate into too big to fail behemoths of inefficiency that collude to price gouge us into oblivion so they can pursue the maximization of profit as their primary reason for existence. No, it is people like myself, a mid-size agency first-line supervisor at a Midwestern field office, who have wrecked this country. We must be punished, and to accept this punishment with grace is to know the true meaning of patriotism. Today is the first day of the rest of our lives, my friends. America is indeed great again. God bless and praise be. Stories number 27. Till that women historically have worked outside of the home. The idea that women traditionally didn't work outside the home is a misconception rooted in 1950s, 60s media, government policies, and a focus on white, middle-class suburban life. Historically, women have always worked, on farms, in factories, businesses, and domestic roles. The stay-at-home housewife ideal was a short-lived, post-World War II phenomenon promoted through TV, advertisements, and policies that encouraged women to leave the workforce. This myth persisted due to selective storytelling, nostalgia, and the tendency to center history around wealthier white families while ignoring the experiences of working-class women and women of color. While of course I knew there were exceptions to this lifestyle, I didn't realize that one. It wasn't even close to the norm for many communities, particularly non-white communities, and 2. This traditional values concept only lasted a couple of decades. This isn't just some random historical oversight, it's deliberate erasure. Women's contributions were systematically ignored to push a false narrative that benefited those in power. The fact that so many, myself included, have gone our whole lives without realizing this shows how deeply ingrained the lie is. It also feels like a betrayal. Women have always worked, struggled, and contributed, yet their labor was dismissed, and the traditional housewife ideal was sold as the truth. It's frustrating to think about how this shaped societal expectations, limited opportunities, and reinforced gender roles. TLDR: in another episode of I Hate It Here, TL woman's history in America has been wiped to better fit the patriarchal agenda. Stories number 28. I had to prepare a meal and entertain 20 people for a job interview, and so did 19 other candidates. Originally posted to Ask a Manager. Trigger warning: exploitation, hostile work environment. Original post January 9, 2014. I recently had a job interview for an entry-level program coordinator position. I walked in and there was a panel of interviewers sitting behind a table, but there was no chair for me. This was the third of 5 interviews as part of an all-day interview process, and every other session had a clear chair for the interviewee. There was a chair shoved into the corner, and after I introduced myself to everyone, I said something along the lines of, "If it is all right, I'm just going to grab this chair," and pushed the chair into the proper position. It made the whole interview process feel like a mind game. As a candidate who had been through 2 phone interviews and was enduring a 15-hour in-person interview process, games like this just seemed ridiculous. I thought I really wanted this job, but the interview process was full of games like this. They also made the 20 final candidate cook dinner for and entertain the senior staff at the executive director's house. We were given 2 hours to plan, shop, and cook for 40. We also had to find the address of the director's house, which turned out to be a 30-minute drive away. Do I have the wrong attitude? Are these tricks and games really a good way to test candidates, and, if so, what is the best way to respond? The letter writer provided more info to Allison about the chair and cooking dinner. When they invited me for the final interview, they made it clear that it would be a whole-day affair. A few days before the interview, I asked for an agenda schedule and was told, "All I will share is that interviews will last from 8:30 a.m. to at least 9 p.m., and you will have individual interviews as well as time to mingle with fellow candidates during the day." When I arrived at the interview, I was given the schedule for the day, which included 5 individual interviews, and said that from 5 p.m. onwards, there would be a group activity. At 5, they simply announced that our group activity was to shop for and prepare a meal for 40 with entertainment, to be served at 7:30 at the director's house. We were given a budget of $350 and information about food allergies in the group. No other information was given. We even had to figure out the director's address, and they didn't give any sort of reason context. It wasn't clear if it was supposed to be an evaluation of our skills, but the senior staff spent the majority of the night drinking and dancing. The evening didn't end till 10:30 p.m., when it moved to a local bar. Update: I've just landed a great job with a leading public health organization doing exactly what I want to be doing. I'll be in the field doing real frontline public health work. It was the most casual interview process ever. I had met with the director several months ago and consistently followed up with him to see if he knew of any openings. Finally they had an opening and he remembered me. One quick phone interview and I got the job. No cooking or dancing like a performing monkey required. Best of all, it seems like an organization that respects and appreciates their staff. Thanks for your advice. Following your website is one of the few things that kept me sane during the job search. Stories number 29. Someone keeps unlocking my apartment door early in the morning. I live in Canada, NS. For a handful of times now I would hear some odd tapping clicking sound in my apartment anytime between midnight to 5 a.m., and every time I checked nothing was out of the ordinary. I've also noticed a few times my front door was unlocked and assumed I forgot to lock it after returning. It happened again just tonight, and I had since been keeping up with ensuring my door was kept locked, and I realize I was never leaving it unlocked. Someone with a key, or something else, has been randomly unlocking my door during witching hour but never entering, just unlocking it. I live alone with no pets. I assume someone is either attempting to break in but is scared off when I alert them to my activity, or is setting me up for someone to break in, as I see no reason an unknown person keeps doing this. Someone suggested it might be hallucinations due to potential gas leak, but the apartment is heated only by a heat pump, and the water is electric heated. No gas here. What do I do in this kind of situation? Stories number 30. Wibta: if I move out of our apartment knowing my fiancé and his mom can't afford it without me, F29, and my ex fiancé, M27, have been living together for about 1.5 years. Fiancé got his undergraduate degree, worked for a couple years and then decided to get an MBA, which is how he ended up in our city. We moved in together after he finished his MBA program. Fiancé is from the Midwest and his mom has always wanted him to move back. When he told her he was staying here she was heartbroken. I went to college and got my degree in a STEM field. After I graduated, I got a job with my current company and moved to the city where we currently live. It's a big international company with multiple locations in the US and international. I love my job, I like the company I work for, and the pay is pretty good. All in all, a pretty good deal. During COVID my office shut down and we all went WFH. After COVID they decided not to reopen this office, so I've been 100% WFH since early 2020. I currently make considerably more than him, mainly because I've been working for 7 years and I'm in tech. I had been living by myself in a 1-bedroom apartment and just had my office set up in the living room since it was just me. When we moved in together, we decided to get a 2-bedroom apartment so I could use the extra room as an office. Because of this I was paying 2/3 of the rent and he paid 1/3. We split everything else 50-50. So the problem started this past May. Fiancé's mom told him she wanted to move to our city to be closer to him. She asked if she could stay with us while she looked for a job and got settled. She's a teacher, so figured she'd be able to get a teaching job pretty quickly. Because of that I didn't really mind her staying with us, as I figured it would just be for a couple months over the summer. Since I thought it would only be for a couple months, I moved my office into a corner of our bedroom and fiancé bought a bed to put in the second bedroom. The problem is she never applied for any teaching positions and has been living with us for 6 months now. She and I have really been struggling with each other since she moved in. I can't make her understand that I work full-time. She constantly interrupts while I'm working, which is bad enough, but she even interrupts when I'm on Teams calls. She always asks me to take her places BC she doesn't like to drive in our city. She has pretty outdated views of gender roles and is constantly giving me a hard time for not doing more around the house and making fiancé help with chores, do his own laundry, etc. The constant criticism and insults are just really wearing me down. And I hate having my office shoved in a corner of the bedroom. Back in September I told my fiancé that since it looks like his mom is going to stay a while we should split the rent 3 ways. He told me she can't afford that since she has to conserve money until she gets a job. I told him I wasn't happy paying extra for a bedroom I can't use, so finally he said we could do a 50-50 split. I could afford to pay the extra, but I hate the idea of funding her lifestyle. Every time I complain about her or the situation he says he agrees but doesn't know what to do because he can't kick out his mom. And he won't talk to her about the way she treats me or how she behaves. When I ask what the long-term plan is, he just says he doesn't know. I've thought about giving him an ultimatum to tell her she has to leave, but I think he'd just end up resenting me for essentially putting his mom on the street. So one of my girlfriends is losing her roommate the end of February. Our lease renews June 1st. I'm very strongly considering moving out of our current apartment and moving in with her. I can afford to pay my part of rent on our current apartment and also half the rent at my friend's apartment. It's not ideal, but I'm not a big spender, so it's doable. The issue is, if he and his mom aren't able to pay for 1/3 the rent each, there is no way they could cover the whole thing on their own. But I can't live like this anymore, so I'm pretty sure this is what I'll do, but I wanted to see if people thought I'd be the AH for leaving them like this. Some of OOP's comments. Commenter: if you move and pay rent for your old place and your new place, then you are foolish. There is no incentive for things to change because you are just letting it go and not putting your foot down. I suggest telling boyfriend that either his mother is out in 60 days or you are. He has no problem letting her disrespect you in your home and has no idea how long mommy dearest is planning to stay. Let me tell you, she plans on staying permanently with your funding her lifestyle because your boyfriend has no spine. NTA. If there was ever a time for an ultimatum, this is it. Reply: sorry, I should have made that more clear, I'm on the lease in my current apartment, so I can't just up and leave. But I can afford to pay half the rent at the new place and have the rent at the old place for 3 months until my current lease is up. To another commenter: I'd only pay rent at the old place until the lease is up in June. So basically 3 months. And only because I don't want my credit trashed. Commenter: downvoted. It sounds like it would be best for you TBH. Mom isn't evicted, you guys can keep dating whilst living separately, and your work will not be disturbed. Or why not just find a studio flat for mom? Reply: I've suggested we find something for her and even suggested we could help her out with rent until she gets a job, but I get the same answer no matter what. She has to conserve money so she can't spend any more than she already is, which is 0. Commenter: is he going to be your ex because of this situation, or he was already an ex? Either way, NTA. But I was just thinking, if you move out, maybe he will see what he lost and be more motivated to get rid of his mom. That way he won't resent you for it. Reply: he's probably going to be my ex because of this situation. Before she showed up, everything was good. But since she got its shit show. Honestly, at this point we're just 2 roommates that happen to sleep in the same bed. I can't even remember the last time we had personal time, because she's always around, always watching TV in the living room on the other side of our bedroom wall. Commenter: heavily downvoted. My other half never had an issue with my relatives moving in. My mom once moved in for a year. He never said a word. My brother moved in for 6 months. Again he said nothing. He expected nothing from them. His sister moved in for over a year and nothing was said. I am really shocked that so many people treat family like crap. Reply, but how did your relatives treat your other half? Or how did his sister treat you? And how did them being there affect your living arrangements and work arrangements? Did they interrupt your workday and affect your performance at work? I've had to squeeze my entire work setup into a cramped, uncomfortable corner. If she would just show some respect, it would have made a huge difference. But why would I want to support someone that treats me like crap, disregards the fact that I have a full-time job, is critical of everything I do, and insults me? Update post. I posted here last week about the situation I'm in living with my soon-to-be ex-fiancé and his mom. If anyone is interested. I started off trying to reply to everyone's comments and keep up, but honestly I just got completely overwhelmed with all the comments. First off, I want to thank everyone for their feedback and comments, even the ones that were kind of harsh. Actually, probably especially the ones that were kind of harsh. I really needed some tough love to make me realize that I was letting my STBX and his mom take advantage of me. The more comments I read, the more pissed off I got. Honestly, I think I'm more pissed at myself for allowing this to happen and not advocating for myself more. This past weekend I got my STBX alone so we could talk, which was actually harder than it should have been. BC his mom always tries to tag along when we do anything. Going through all the comments everyone left and the PMs people sent really helped me decide how to approach this. And also, brought up a lot of good questions I should have thought of myself. Back to the discussion with the ex, I wanted to give him one more chance to pick us over his mom, not because I thought he would, but I just wanted to be able to tell myself I give him the opportunity. I explained again about how unhappy I am with the situation, how it's affecting my work because of her constant interruptions and just being unhappy and uncomfortable that I'm forced to work out of a corner in our bedroom. And I reminded him that until a few months ago I was paying the majority of the rent, and being that I make so much more than him, it's really my salary that keeps us all afloat. And I also brought up, again, the way she treats me and talks to me, and he replied the same way he has been. He agrees it's not right how she acts and that it's really uncomfortable for us all. WTF. I don't care if she's uncomfortable. Previously I would have dropped it there. But this time I told him how angry and disappointed I was that he let me pay for 2/3 of the rent when she first moved, and how unfair it was that I'm still paying for half when there are 3 people living there and she is the only one with her own bedroom. It was the same story, she has to conserve money since she doesn't have any income currently. Which brought up the question of where all her stuff went when she moved. What money does she use for incidentals? So evidently, when she got divorced, she asked for the divorce after my ex went off to college. It doesn't sound like her husband ex's dad wanted the divorce. His dad bought her out of the equity in their house. Ex didn't have any idea how much that was or how much is left. But until she moved here she was working full-time as a teacher and living in a small apartment, so she should not have had to tap into the divorce settlement money very much. Other than that, ex didn't have much insight to her finances other than what she told him, that she has to conserve money. I told him straight up that I'm moving out before the end of the month. And from now on I'm only paying 25%, as some of the commenters pointed out. She has a whole bedroom while I have to share with a man-child. So she should have to pay twice as much, and after I move out I'm not paying for anything else, no utilities, no food, nothing other than rent. I have a pretty idea what his finances are like, and if he has to pay 75% of the rent all by himself it's going to take a huge chunk of his net income. And after he pays utilities and buys groceries there won't be anything left for incidentals. Rent was due on the 1st, but it's not late until after the 5th, so he has 2 days to come up with the $. If he doesn't come up with it and I end up covering, then I'll reduce the amount I pay in future months. The only reason I'm going to keep paying any of the rent is even after I move out, I'm still on the hook. I talked to the leasing office and they explained that since X and I signed a single rental agreement together, e.g. one contract we both signed as opposed to 2 contracts we sign individually, we are both responsible for the rent. They don't care who actually pays as long as it gets paid. The only alternative would be if he agrees to sign a new lease by himself or together with his mom. But in all likelihood he wouldn't be able to pass the credit check on his own, so I'm kind of stuck. I don't think he'll do anything stupid tough because he's going to need to find someplace to live after this, and a collection on his credit report wouldn't be good. I also told him that I'm going to find someplace to work during the day until I move so she can't bother me. My friend I'm moving in with said I could work there during the day since she and her current roommate have in-person 9-5s. I took her up on that for now. After living with his mom, I'm not about to overstay my welcome, so I'm going to find some other options that I can rotate through. Someone suggested checking out the public library, or if it comes to it I'll get a membership at one of those WeWork kind of places. Just in case, I brought my important papers, files, valuables, and my friend is storing them for me until I move in. He really didn't take it well. The surprising thing to me is that he was surprised by everything. He seemed really shocked that I wasn't prioritizing his mom. I really got the feeling that he sincerely believed I wanted to take care of her as much as him, and he kept saying stuff like, "What about my mom? What am I going to tell her? That's how she is, but we still need to help her," etc. He asked about our relationship and the engagement. I told him after I move out I need some space from him. In a few months, when we've both had some time space to process what happened, if we both agree, we can talk about the relationship. But he'd have to prove that he's going to have my back going forward and will set boundaries with his mom. I told him that just to avoid more drama, but I don't see a future in which we are together. I told him he needs to tell his mom because she's not my responsibility or problem, and she'll know something's up when I start moving my stuff out. He hasn't told her what's going on yet, but this weekend I'm going to start moving things, so he doesn't have much time. My friend's current roommate starts a new job in another state on the 3rd, so in reality I can probably move in 2 to 3 weeks, just depending when she actually leaves. I don't expect him to do anything bad, other than sulk and complain, but if he does something stupid, or doesn't pay his part of the rent, the ace up my sleeve is I'll tell the leasing office his mom moved in, which is prohibited in the lease. Honestly, getting evicted would solve a lot of my problems right now, so it's a pretty valid threat, I think. Now that I've mentally and emotionally separated myself from him and his mom, I'm looking forward to her reaction when he tells her what's going on. If it gets too ugly, I'll find a cheap Airbnb or hotel or something. I've had some friends, including the one I'm moving in with, offer to let me couch surf for a few weeks, but I just can't do that to someone else. So, that's it. I'm leaving and I really don't care how that affects them. Some of OOP's comments. Commenter, notify your landlord in writing that you are moving out and to take you off the lease after June 1st. You wouldn't want to do nothing and accidentally trigger an automatic renewal. Reply, already did that. I did it before I went to talk to the front office and confirmed that they received it while I was down there. Commenter, stick with your plan, you're almost free. Do not ever be pulled back into this toxic situation. Don't forget that the two of them are still lying to you. You pay 1/3 and he'll figure out the rest. The mother has money to pay her part. Don't be fooled. Reply, nope, I'm paying 25%. She has a whole bedroom to herself while I have to share, so she should have to pay more. I just wish I had had more of a backbone when this whole fiasco started. Stories number 31. I think it's funny how "it's just biology" ends at the kitchen tending to children. I hear a lot of conservatives talk about how women are designed for domestic roles, and they should stay in the home and fulfill their role there. Typically this logic is supported by all sorts of thinking: women can have children, women are typically physically weaker, women are less logical, and so on. Funny thing is, when you flip their own logic back on them, they start hating it. If women are these delicate little creatures that can't be under physical strain, then they should hold basically all white-collar work, and men should do basically all blue-collar work. I mean, men have no place in the office, they're more likely to be violent, and their skills are better off in the field, right? If it's just biology, then women should practice hypergamy instead of partnering up with a single person. After all, why would women waste their time with average men when the cream of the crop can impregnate practically all of them? I'm being facetious, but do you see what I'm getting at? Just a thought. Stories number 32. Aita for pretending to think beans in chili are woke, to prank my cousin who is obsessed with being anti-woke and who loves chili. My cousin is known for making chili. And he's good at it. He makes his own chili flakes from his secret combination of various dried chilies. It has a very nice kick. It's like the perfect amount of spice, it's hot but not too hot. He also always adds kidney beans. Not canned beans either. Anyways, for the past 2 or 3 years my cousin has become obsessed with all this bullshit about what is or isn't woke and how woke things are the end of the world. He's always been a good dude, so I don't know what his bag is, but he is completely obsessed. It's annoying. So the other weekend I was at his place and he was making his famous chili. So I got the idea for a little prank. I was like, "I'm surprised you still put beans in your chili." He was like, "What? Why?" I was like, "Beans in chili are so woke. Everyone is saying so." He was like, "What do you mean?" And he was like genuinely concerned, as if this was something serious. I said something like, "Yeah, beans in chili are woke. The original conservative Texans who made chili only used meat and chili. San Francisco liberals started adding beans to chili in the 60s because so many hippies were vegetarian. Now all the woke scientists are saying beans are a better protein source than meat." He didn't say anything to that. I kind of just assumed he'd know I was fucking with him and get the joke. We have always fucked around with each other and jokes about and all. But he was quiet all dinner. Just yesterday I was back again at his place and he was making his chili again. There were no beans. It was a totally different chili. This guy has been making his chili with beans for like 15 years. I was like, what's up? Where's the beans? He was like, I don't fuck with that woke shit. I was like, what? He was like, beans in chili are woke. Even you know that. Everyone else was like, what? Because, what? I was like, dude, I was just fucking with you. He got really angry. He dumped his chili in the sink and told everyone to go home. I thought he was pranking me back or something, but he was serious. The dude totally lost it. He texted me later and said this exact thing. I researched this online and it turns out you really were lying to me, beans are not woke. How could you do this? We went back and forth for a bit. His position is even though we have historically pranked each other I went too far, that I betrayed him, that I made him question his chili. I tried to ask him if this at all made him think he cared too much about woke, like what if beans in chili was woke, so what? He ignored that and demanded I apologize. Did I take this too far? Stories number 33. BF, 27, very upset disappointed in me, 20F, after concert. Throwaway because he follows my real account. Last night my BF and I went to a concert for one of my favorite bands. We got lucky because right when they were opening the door to the venue we were at the front, so of course we went all the way front and center in the crowd. Everything was going great, the opener for the band played and we were both drinking a bit. Then the main band comes on and my BF leaves almost immediately when people start moshing, literally about 5 minutes in. Important to note, the girls next to me were saying how the guitarist was cute and I laughed along with them, which my BF heard. Alone now, I tried to text him all throughout the show to get him to come back ask what's wrong. Eventually he said he was up towards the right of the stage but I couldn't find him. He said he couldn't find me but I hadn't moved the entire time and was waving my arms around so he'd see me. Since I was so close I was able to get really good videos of the band, namely the guitarist literally right in front of me. All throughout the show they would ask the crowd questions, and the girls next to me and I thought it would be funny to try to get him to hit the jewel. He declined which was totally fine, but I videoed it and put it on my Snap story along with other snaps throughout the concert. Afterwards I actually got a chance to talk to him, take a pic with him as he was leaving the stage. It was kind of a short set so after their last song I went to go find my BF. He was in the very back at the bar. He all of a sudden didn't want to talk to me and asked if I wanted to stay and he would give me money for an Uber home. I said no it's fine and we left. I was excited to show him all the videos I took since like I said they're one of my favorite bands. I also showed him the Jewel video and picture of me meeting the guitarist. Then OTW back home he was super quiet and refused to talk to me, which sucked because we were stuck in traffic for a long time. Eventually he said he would tell me what's going on, but he just dropped me off at my place, and when I asked about it, he said, I just want to go home. So I respect that, and he didn't text me until this morning telling me what was wrong. He was really disappointed in me for saying with that girl that guitarist guy was cute and trying to get him to hit your jewel. I didn't expect any of that or know you were like that IG, I wouldn't have done the same to you. Am I in the wrong here? I'm just really confused and upset about the whole thing. Top comments. Commenter 1. I'm chuckling a little that he framed it as disappointment, because it's actually jealousy, but disappointment sounds so much more morally upright. Imagine if the tables were turned, how would you feel? Commenter 2. He's a 27-year-old dating a 20-year-old. He clearly likes to feel like the older, wise, mature man. So he can blame OP for anything she does that irritates him. Commenter 3. He's insecure. Enjoy the rest of this roller coaster. Many more big hills coming up for you. Update. Hey guys, thanks for all the comments on the previous post. Linky, we broke up. He said he doesn't want to be with someone who doesn't feel the same about him, and that I broke his trust and loyalty, not a quality he is looking for in a GF. We have been dating since November. I tried telling him that he is blowing it out of proportion and that I believed we were strong and mature enough to make it work. He said last night made him realize we weren't on the same page anymore, and that it was his fault for telling me how he felt about me, loved me, a couple months ago. This stings super bad right now, especially because I have a class with him starting in 2 weeks lol. But I think it might be for the best. All the red flags of jealousy, immaturity, and insecurity that I didn't even see, wow. Well, wish me luck, gonna go finish my shift even though I've been bawling for the past hour. Top comment. Commenter. No. I would expect this kind of behavior from a teenager, but a man that is almost 30 shouldn't act this way. 7 months is not that long. I'm glad he showed his true colors now. Run. Run as far away from this dude and anyone that reminds you of him from this point forward. Stories number 34. I turned off the Super Bowl and my BF lost it. Okay, so I have been dating my boyfriend for almost a year now, and yesterday, we got into a huge argument over the Super Bowl. He had his friends over at our place to watch the game, which was fine. I wasn't really into football, but I was cool with them hanging out. Everything was okay at first, but then out of nowhere he tells me, "Hey, can you go grab us some more drinks? We're out." I kinda laughed at first because I thought he was joking, but then he literally paused, looked at me, and said, "No, seriously, just go real quick." Like I was some waitress or something. I told him he should have stocked up earlier and that I didn't really feel like running to the store in the middle of the game for something he should have planned for. But instead of just accepting that, he got all pissy and was like, "It's not a big deal, just go, we're watching the game." At that point I was already annoyed because I was literally sitting there, minding my business, and now I'm expected to leave just because he and his friends didn't think ahead? So I told him no, and he kept pushing it, saying I was making this harder than it needed to be. So yeah, I got mad. And maybe I was being petty, but I grabbed the remote and turned the TV off. I told him that if he cared so much about the drinks, he could go get them himself. He flipped out. His friends just kinda sat there awkwardly, but he was furious, saying I was being dramatic and ruining the night over nothing. He stormed out to go get the drinks himself, and when he got back, he barely talked to me for the rest of the night. Now today he's still mad and told me I embarrassed him in front of his friends. I feel like he was the one being entitled, but now I'm second-guessing myself. Like, did I overreact by turning off the game? Should I have just let it go? Stories number 35. Aita for making food for everyone but my younger sister. I, F16, have a younger sister, F11, with a very strong personality. She often speaks without thinking, which causes us to bump heads. She said that I smell, that my breath stinks, that I'm a goody two-shoes, and other stuff that really hurts my feelings. Often when called out she just says, "It just slipped out," or "I didn't mean it like that." She gets upset when asked to do things she doesn't want to do and rolls her eyes, mumbles under her breath, or ignores people to voice her displeasure. I've asked her a question or spoken to her and gotten completely ignored until my mother tells her to respond. Or I'll ask her to do something for me, like put my clothes in with hers, and she'll refuse. Obviously she doesn't have to do this, but if she's doing it anyway and I've done the same for her, it would be nice, you know? What gets me the most, though, is that she's the first one to ask for someone to do something for her, buy her something, or give her something. But she always behaves like having to do anything for anyone else is the worst inconvenience in the history of ever. Don't get me wrong, I've tried calmly explaining why it's hurtful over text and in person. I've yelled and argued, but she's always got a laundry list of excuses. I said, "I can't win with you," and she said, "So why do you keep trying if you know you aren't going to win," in this really snarky tone. I've told my mom, too, but she just said that you can't force people to change, which is valid, but I don't think it's fair for me to be disrespected because that's just how she is. Today, I was making breakfast for myself. There are babies in the house, not my siblings, but we're staying with a family friend until we can find our own place, so our host asked me to make them some too. I did, and my sister said, "I want some. Can you make me some?" I told her no, but that she had 2 working legs and was more than welcome to make some herself. My mom said that I'd better make everyone some food while I'm making some for myself, and I said I'm more than happy to make anyone food that wants some, but I'm not making any for my sister because I don't do things for people that disrespect me. She rolled her eyes at me and was clearly very upset that I didn't make her any food, but I ignored her and made everyone else's plate and sat down to eat mine. She kept glaring at me while I was cooking, and now I'm wondering if I was a little too harsh on her and shouldn't have excluded her like that. So, Aita for making everyone food but my younger sister. Edit because I feel it's important, she doesn't just disrespect me. She rarely listens to my mother and kinda just does whatever she wants to do. It's well known that she's hard-headed. Edit 2, my mom agreed with me not making anything for her. After I told her I wasn't doing things for disrespectful people, she nodded and said, "That's valid." Edit 3, because people are asking, our father passed away 7 years ago. He was very active and involved in our lives. Stories number 36. Got off work early today, opened the door to my apartment, walked down the hallway and found my wife and some dude I've never seen before, sitting on the couch watching TV. She says this is a coworker. I shook his hand and introduced myself and then went to my room and closed the door. She kicked him out and came up to me in the closet and started apologizing. I've never been so numb. She said if I hadn't have come home early she wasn't planning on ever telling me he was there. Plans to keep talking to this dude. Said she deleted all the text messages between and refuses me any clarity by seeing the conversations. It's just fucked up. I just feel disrespected. He brought her edibles and weed and brought my dog some treats. He really did a good job playing himself up. I'm just hurt. She's 1 foot out the door apparently. Just having a tough time coping. Stories number 37. Even in a semi-decent relationship, do men feel they get the short end of the stick? I, 23F, sort of live under a rock, new to Reddit, blah blah all that. I've had the free time recently to go through social medias and take a good look around, and I started to notice a trend with women and men that I don't see in my day-to-day. So it got me wondering a couple things. IG, do you actually enjoy putting in most of the work when it comes to romance? The wildly accepted expectations I've seen seem pretty one-sided and rather unfair. I don't know if the is the right place to ask this, but I figure there are a lot of men here and I really am curious on the consensus. If I was a man, I think that would weigh on me. The societal pressure on how you should be in a relationship is a thick dense book of rules to me. It's like there is no relationship without the man doing nearly everything, and online women bully those that have an issue with it, mainly men. Is this your experience IRL? Does it make dating hard to enjoy, even if there is chemistry? Stories number 38. The boy I've been seeing made out with someone in front of me at his birthday. I, F27, have been dating Gabe, M27, for 3 weeks. Fake name, it's been pretty casual and fun, nothing serious. For our first date, we went to a wrestling match and then dinner, which was unusual but really fun. On our second date, we just had churros and chilled. We planned a fourth date, which was supposed to be a movie night, but his friend called and invited him to go out to the city that same night. Gabe asked if I wanted to join, and I said, for sure. I was excited, but he canceled last minute, just 30 minutes before. I totally understand that things happen, but it still hurt. I had already gotten dressed and done my makeup, so I won't lie, it stung a little. I was also invited to his birthday party, though I wasn't sure what to expect. I decided to go for myself. I had just taken a huge test and wanted to have some fun. I put together a cute outfit and wore new jewelry. Honestly, I felt hot. When I got to the bar, I realized just how many people were there, at least 60. I'm more introverted, while Gabe is a total social butterfly. I only kind of knew 3 people, so I stuck with them most of the night. Gabe would occasionally check in, he'd say hi when passing by, kiss me, or dance with me for a bit before leaving again. As the party started winding down, I noticed Gabe dancing with a girl, which was fine, he had been dancing with people all night. But then, I looked over again and saw him making out with her. I wasn't even mad, I was just confused. I immediately thought, I have to go. So, I grabbed my jacket and started heading to my car. As I was leaving, Gabe saw me, stopped me, and started kissing me. I don't even know what happened. Stories number 39. Teacher got a lesson in letting students leave class when needed. All the teacher stories have got me thinking to share this one from high school. Senior year of high school, so we're all 17 to 18. We had what I consider one of the worst English teachers of all time. I think she honestly hated anyone being happy. For example, she let her dog pee on our essays right before Christmas break, and made us all rewrite them during the holiday. Pen and paper, typed wasn't accepted. She had special hatred for girls who got pregnant, which we had a few of during the year. My friend M was one of them. The teacher's favorite thing to do was not let anyone who was pregnant go to the bathroom during class. Come May, M is heavily pregnant, and when she raised her hand the teacher ignored her. M just stood up like she was going to walk out, and the teacher yelled, super loud yelled, at her to stay in her seat, so she sat back down. A few minutes later M stood up again and the teacher yelled at her again, but she didn't sit down. Instead she told the teacher that her water had just broke and she was going to the nurse. The teacher turned green when she saw. The best part was the teacher took a leave of absence starting the next day, and didn't come back. Stories number 40. Aita for thinking of leaving my boyfriend because his behavior has gotten worse after the birth of our daughter. I'm using a throwaway for this because my boyfriend sometimes uses Reddit and I think he may know my main account and I don't want him finding this out. We 22F and 27M have a 2-month-old daughter. She is super colicky, she hates being put down, she cries so much. Her pediatrician says she's just a miserable baby and she will eventually grow out of it. My boyfriend wasn't the most supportive during my pregnancy, but now that our daughter has all of these problems, he's gotten so much worse. He complains that we don't have sex enough, he complains she cries too much, he complains that he works too much and I'm a mooch for not having found a job yet. He often leaves me to manage everything while he plays video games or hangs out with friends. It's okay for him to go out and get drunk and stay the night at a friend's house, but he will literally time me when I'm taking a shower and blame me for the fact our water bill is too high. He makes me feel like I'm a failure of a mother because our daughter spits up so much we go through 4 or 5 outfit changes a day and he complains that it's too much laundry. Some bill is late or behind and he blames me for not contributing to our shared bills even though he promised to take care of us both. My boyfriend won't let us use any type of government assistance because he thinks that's beneath us. But we are constantly counting pennies and I have to go without so we can get the special formula my daughter needs, so she absolutely miserable all the time. We got into a fight yesterday because I placed a Walmart delivery for diapers, wipes, rash cream, and I bought myself some Chef Boyardee cans so I can have something to eat while he's at work. He ended up screaming at me yesterday while our daughter was crying and threw a freshly made bottle at my head, giving me a bruise on my forehead. I just started crying because I felt so defeated. I called my mom while he was at work today and just broke down. She said he's just struggling to adjust to fatherhood, and this is what I get for having a baby out of wedlock. She said she struggled hard when I was a child and this is my punishment for not going to college and being a dumb SL%T. I get it some days because she was a single mom too, but I remember being primarily raised by my grandparents and she's never even watched my baby. She doesn't want to because of her medical issues and has told me so. I told my mom I wanted to leave him and she laughed and said I was being dumb and that he's all I've got now and she won't help me. This is after me begging her to lend me some money so I can buy my own groceries, and I promised I'd pay her back once I find a job anymore. Sometimes I feel like I am just not cut out to be a parent. I don't feel like a good parent. My mom makes me feel even worse about it and has told me I need to give my daughter to a better family, and when my boyfriend is angry, he's told me he wished he had just left us so he wouldn't have to deal with us any longer. I think I need to leave my boyfriend, but I'm also scared to do that. Am I being dumb about wanting to leave him? Is my mom right? I don't want my daughter to grow up without her father, but he stresses me out so much now I don't even want to be around him because of his behavior. Edit. My grandparents are dead, otherwise I would leave him and go live with them. I called the domestic violence hotline and they are going to put me in touch with shelters. I have $7 to my name and I put our important documents in the diaper bag. Please stop messaging me telling me I'm a dummy or I should have aborted my baby. I can't turn back time now that she's here. I regret who her father is, but I don't want to give her up. I want to leave him and I'm doing my best to get that in motion. I'm going to leave as soon as I can once a shelter has a place for us both. Edit 2. There is a domestic violence shelter but they won't have a space for us until next Monday. The shelter is going to put me and my daughter up in a hotel starting on Friday. I'm going to get a protective order against my boyfriend and try to get as many of our things out of this apartment until then. I've taken photos of the bruise he gave me. Going to be doing a lot of packing while he's at work tomorrow and Friday. I'm going to apply for as many social services as I can too, and I hope I get approved for them fast. I'm slowly getting a plan together to fully leave him. I will update everyone again once we are in the hotel or in the shelter on Monday. Thank you to everyone who's offered help, a place for us to stay, offered food and clothing and stuff I may need once I'm in the shelter and back on my feet. I know I will be better off once I leave him, so I just have to keep going until then. Update to Ada for thinking of leaving my boyfriend because his behavior has gotten worse after the birth of our daughter. I know a lot of you wanted an update when I got one. I'm writing this post while he's at work. I'm so tired and scared. I was up at 3 a.m. and again at 5 a.m. with my daughter and trying to ignore him. I haven't spoken to my mom about leaving him because I'm too worried she might tell him my plan. I'm just going to cut her out entirely because she isn't safe and I'm too scared and worried she's going to take his side and try to make me stay with him when I don't want to. I've never been able to really trust my mom at all, but I know I can't trust her with this. The shelter won't have a space for us until Monday. I've packed away all of our important documents like our birth certificates and social security cards. The shelter can't get us placed in a hotel over the weekend and I don't want to risk him finding out when he's off work, so I just have to make it through the weekend to get away from him. I'm hoping the shelter will be able to help me get any assistance I can apply for. I've never had to do it before, so I'm kind of clueless on how it works. I'm hoping I can also get a protective order against him and he can't have our daughter alone until she grows out of her colic and he won't be so frustrated or angry at her when she cries. I'm terrified to leave her alone with him, but I don't know if I'll have to let him see her once we leave. I'm going to continue stashing away our important items until he gets home, and I'm honestly hoping he just goes out to drink and stays away so I can have one night of peace. Besides waking up every 2 to 3 hours for my daughter, I can't wait to take a shower as long as I want and eat a hot meal that isn't from a can. I'm hoping the shelter will be able to give me clothes that actually fit. I can't wait to when I don't have to wake up with anxiety in my stomach or worrying about spending money, when I get a job and have my own income, or getting yelled at for buying necessities that I need and my daughter needs. I will update everyone again once we are in the shelter on Monday. Thank you to everyone who's offered help and advice, a place for us to stay, offered food and clothing and stuff I may need once I'm in the shelter and back on my feet. I feel like I'm going to throw up the more I think about leaving, but I know I need to do it. Edit. Some of you really need to learn how to be empathetic. No, I will not send you nudes to make money. No, you weirdos, I will not send you feet pics or pics of my daughter. I have people in my inbox asking if I will make a GoFundMe, and right now I don't know. Too afraid of my daughter's father finding out. I do have my own bank account that he's never had access to. I have people in my inbox telling me to get a job. I'm hoping the shelter can help with that and get me a job fast, or just being downright mean and rude and saying really awful things. Yes, I know it was dumb of me to get pregnant at 21 and have a baby with a guy I'm not married to, but I am going to leave him and give my daughter a better life than the one I had. She deserves that, and I don't deserve to be treated the way her father has treated me for her short life. Update to Ada for thinking of leaving my boyfriend because his behavior has gotten worse after the birth of our daughter. Edit. People are asking me to make a GoFundMe. The shelter worker did not recommend a GoFundMe anyways due to privacy reasons. I made a Venmo with the same username as my Reddit username to keep some privacy. Thank you to everyone who has offered help so far and more resources to help me rebuild my life after leaving. The shelter worker was the one who said I may have to change my number if my daughter's father starts harassing me through text messages, but she didn't say I absolutely had to do it. I'm terrified for when he does get off work and goes back to the apartment. I'm just ready for things to get better. I still feel like I'm going to barf. Now it's just waiting and doing my best to make it day by day. Hi all, I know a lot of you wanted an update. We are in the shelter now. We left the apartment at 8 a.m. this morning, about an hour after my daughter's father left for work. It has been a long morning for me. I had to meet with a worker from the shelter, show that I had my location turned off on my phone. She had to go through mine and my daughter's things that I brought to make sure there were no tracing devices. There's rules I have to follow, like curfew, can't have packages delivered or have the address shared publicly due to safety reasons. I can't let anyone know where I am or else that's a violation and we will have to leave for safety reasons. They gave me and my daughter a room and a spare pack and play for her to be in and gave us a spare set of sheets and a blanket for me. The shelter will provide things like toilet paper, pads, tampons, but if I want special stuff like my own body wash or shampoo or laundry detergent, I have to get that on my own and make sure it is in my room and not in common areas. I can't eat in the room we were given and all food and snacks have to be communal, but I can keep things like my baby's formula in the room. When we got to the shelter, they had me fill out the application for WIC, SNAP, TNF, Medicaid for both myself and my daughter. I also filled out an application to get a low-income apartment, but the shelter worker said that could take years before I'm approved. I also have to create my own resume and start finding a job as soon as possible. I had to provide my daughter's father's name and information to apply for these benefits, so I don't know if I'll have to give him custody or visitation to receive any government help. The shelter worker said I was better off talking to a lawyer and she's going to give me a list of ones who work with the shelter in family law. I also need to get my daughter to see a new pediatrician because she was so angry and cranky and miserable all weekend. I've never felt so stressed and scared and sick to my stomach, like I was waiting for him to just explode and make things even worse. It ended up with her father screaming at me and throwing and breaking things like plates and one of my candles. The next big thing is getting a protective order and seeing if that will help me with keeping custody of my daughter. I really don't want to share custody of her with him unless I absolutely have to. I'm just so tired and anxious. My stomach is in knots. I have to try and get a police escort to get my clothes and what few sentimental items I have because the shelter doesn't have clothes in my size right now. I'm scared my daughter's father has ruined more of my things. I'm scared he's ruined her things too. I feel like there is a ball in the pit of my stomach and I feel like throwing up. I haven't been able to sleep or really think beyond getting away from my daughter's father. I have not contacted my mother because I can't trust her not to tell my daughter's father where we are at. I feel like I'm starving and I can't wait to have a hot meal. I'll probably have to change my phone number to make sure my daughter's father can't contact me. I have a bank account he has no access to and I'm hoping I can find a job soon so I can get a car so we won't be relying on the shelter to get us to places we need to be. The shelter worker said it can take up to a month before I receive any assistance and that has me nervous and scared too. I'm really hoping I hear something back soon for assistance and can hopefully get into a low-income apartment so we aren't in the shelter for a long time. I'm still scared of what's to come for our future just because I don't know what to expect next. I just want to never hear from her father again and move on and be done with him. Stories number 41. Kiddo's friend pushes Jesus on my kiddo and doesn't like my response. So first off, I will say this wasn't my proudest moment. So my kiddo 5 comes into my office and asks if God is real. I answer which one because I know where this is coming from and I'm pretty sure where it's going. The friend, 11, then comes in and says something along the lines of God died on the cross for our sins and some other scriptural BS. I then snap back, yes. I did snap because of the lack of respecting other people's religious choices, that Jesus wasn't God, he was a demigod like Hercules. And I said some other things comparing Jesus to other religions. The friend then went downstairs and said they wanted to head home. It then dawned on me how Christians feel attacked. They push on you until you get irritated with their non-stop hounding and you snap back and somehow they're the victim. Next time the friend is over, expectations will be set. The friend is one of the few children that is in the neighborhood for kiddo to play with, and they always play well together. And the religious talk with the kiddo is going to have to be sooner than later. Again, thanks for not keeping your hands to yourselves, Christians. Stories number 42. AIO, girlfriend won't see me because she's watching a show. Hey all. Today has been awful. For some basic context, both of my parents are old and disabled, 61 each. My mother is in the hospital after a toe amputation, and will be there for some time. It's been difficult on my father and I both, but we've been doing well thus far. Today, my father was told by his doctor to pack a bag and head to the ER. After fighting to close this massive wound on his foot for almost a year, the doctor discovered signs that the bone inside the foot may be infected, and surgery may be required, likely an amputation of part of the foot. I am struggling. It's difficult watching my parents decay like this. I asked my girlfriend if we could hang out once I'm out of the ER. I am still here as I write this, and she informed me she'd planned to watch a show with her college roommate tonight, so it wouldn't work out. I understand that personal time is important and sticking to plans is also important, but I am going through an emergency and I am all alone. The person I'd normally talk to or get comfort from is in a room while the doctor looks at this massive hole in his foot. I'm not sure if it's unreasonable to be upset about being turned down like this or not. Thank you in advance for your time. Stories number 43. How can I talk to my best friend roommate about her hygiene? Should I mind my business? Me, 19F, and my roommate, 18F, met each other for the first time about 7 months ago when freshman year started, and we have become really close. Please keep in mind as you read this that we are close to the point that I consider her my sister. We FaceTime her family, mom, dad, and 2 younger sisters, so much, and we are all really close. I have no complaints about her, aside from her hygiene cleanliness habits. I have no idea where to start, but it's little things, so I will list them all. Left a pumpkin pie in the unplugged refrigerator over winter break, 1 month. When we got back, the whole fridge was covered in mold. I still haven't gotten rid of the smell, and I got sick after cleaning the mold out. She said she didn't know things got moldy if they were unrefrigerated. Does not ever wash or change her bed sheets unless I tell her to. She has changed them twice in the 7 months that we have been living in the dorms. She has thrown up, sweated, eaten, slept in makeup, etc. in these sheets. On the topic of barf, she once came home drunk out of her mind, threw up in plastic bags, and left these plastic bags in her trash can for an entire day. When she finally took them out, the entire room smelled like vomit. I scolded her for this. I bought her a Stanley Cup water bottle for Christmas. She didn't wash it before usage, which I guess is personal preference, but she never washes it. There is currently a weird black dirt ring growing in the straw of the cup, which she ignores and continues to drink from. Leaves moldy plates dining hall to-go boxes on her desk. There is also a moldy mug on her desk that has been there since before winter break. I told her to wash it, she still hasn't. It's been a month. Does not ever clean our room. I am the one that does air fresheners, sweeps, throws garbage out, etc. I don't mind because I love cleaning, but I believe that if I wasn't doing all these things, our room would be a pigsty. She doesn't throw garbage out until she sees me about to take it out, and then she goes, "Wait, let me do it," because she knows it should have been trashed a while ago. I'm sure there are a few more things I am missing. I have approached her once before, after the pumpkin pie incident, to tell her that she needs to step it up, but I was so nervous that I didn't get to say what I wanted. How should I approach her a second time? Should I just let her be? Stories number 44. Aita for not wanting such an intimate vacation. Apologies for formatting, I'm on mobile. Okay, so here's the deal. My so and I have been together a long time and don't usually disagree on anything, but he's pretty annoyed with me and can't see my point of view. He has this friend, I'll call him Sal, and I'm not a huge fan of the guy. I was good to him when I first met him, but he's shown himself to be pretty dismissive of me, kinda racist, and generally arrogant. Sexist too. I try to make allowances for Sal, given that he's older, has never had a partner, and his parents are dead. He has no family. So he relies on his friends. He also sometimes doesn't wash and then stinks. I can't stomach smells like that. Anyway, both my so and Sal have a big birthday in the same month next year. My so wants to do something big, but didn't want to leave Sal out. Sal is pretty poor. I suggested that we, and other friends, chip in to help Sal pay to come on a weekend trip city break. My so was surprised at this, but I reminded him that although I don't really like Sal I wouldn't see him excluded. Tonight my so met Sal for drinks and then called me to say they were thinking of going to this farmhouse that my so and I have visited instead. This is where the disagreement comes in. Look, I'd be willing to go on a city break in a group with Sal included. That way, I'd be able to take myself off to do something if I felt myself getting annoyed. I try to limit my contact with Sal at the best of times and my so generally tries to hang with him when I'm not around because he knows I'm not comfortable around him. So it surprised me when he said they want to go to this farm. It's miles from anywhere. The nearest village is 15 minutes away by car. It's not the sort of place you'd visit with friends unless you were really close with them. SO's argument is I can just take myself off for a walk if I need to get away, but I don't want to just be randomly walking around farmland or spending time alone in a village for ages. If we're in a city somewhere, I'll be able to make my excuses and just piss off shopping or to do an experience or something. This isn't about cost either, as the farmhouse is pretty expensive and far away so driving there is also expensive. My so doesn't understand my problem with Sal and says he's like that with everyone. But I was belittled my whole life and I refuse to let anyone do that to me anymore. I can tolerate Sal, but not enough to go on an intimate vacation with him. Even if it is in a group. The farmhouse is 2 close quarters. Even though there is more than one, they're all connected so we basically be with Sal all the time. My so is annoyed with me because he doesn't understand my problem. Even though I've explained it. I have friends I'm fairly close to that I wouldn't even go on vacation with. I need to be really close with someone before I can spend that much time with them so me even suggesting a city break with Sal included is pushing my boundaries in a big way. But I think I might be the asshole because I don't want to make the guy feel bad, and I think my so thinks that's what will happen. So am I the asshole? Stories number 45. Why is everyone smarter than me? I've never been exceptional, I know that. But it's gotten to the point where if it wasn't for my parents, I would have dropped out by now. In every subject, anthropology, math, criminology, I just cannot do it. All the topics feel so confusing and I can't possibly memorize all of it. And then, there's people speaking up in class, making all-encompassing statements about something we literally just learned from 2 bullet points. Was I supposed to be memorizing everything in history that's ever happened? I don't understand politics, I don't get the government or like how society works. I didn't know I was supposed to know all this stuff. I don't know what a 401k plan is, or whatever. I'll look at a question like, the minority perceived a blurring of distinctions between corporations and labor unions on the one hand and people on the other, correct or incorrect, and it's just like. What? What are those words? What are you saying? How am I supposed to get a job? I'm a junior. Studying criminology just cause I thought it would be easy. But if you were to ask me anything about criminology all I would be able to say is like, police can sometimes do bad things and the system is corrupt. Like what girl, come on, I'm not built for this and I don't know what else I could possibly do. Stories number 46. Is free rent worth this to you? I, 28M, lost my job and was approached by an old friend, 28F. I, 28M, lost my job last week and I can't afford my rent next month so I have to move out of my current apartment. A friend of mine, 28F, who I've known for about 10 years found out and offered for me to come live with her and her roommate, 29F. They have a pretty nice 3-bedroom house like 10 minutes from where I live now. She even offered that I could live there for free, on one condition. She wants me to do all of the cooking and cleaning, and she wants me to wear women's clothes at all times while in the house. She and the roommate will choose the clothes. Essentially I would be their live-in maid/cook. We have never dated or anything, fooled around once or twice a few years ago. Do y'all think that this is a sexual thing for her, or a controlling thing, or both? Or is it just a sort of business deal for them? I don't think I mind the thought of wearing the clothes, and I need a place to live, but I just don't know if I can lose my ego enough to do it. Her friends would all obviously find out when they come over, which would lead to some of mine finding out. I could explain it, but it would be pretty embarrassing. What is the nature of their offer? TLDR, I need a place to live, have an offer for free rent but have to be their maid. Stories number 47. AITA for not knowing if I love my boyfriend anymore. Advice needed. I, 23F, feel like I'm losing my mind. I don't know if I'm in love with my boyfriend, 23M, anymore, and it's consuming me. We've been together for a little over a year, and he's my first real relationship. Compared to my past abusive relationships, he's great, funny, loyal, kind. On paper, there's nothing wrong with him, but something just feels off, and I don't know what to do. It really hit me when he started house hunting. We originally talked about getting an apartment together when his lease was up, but suddenly, it became, oh, I'm getting a house, and you'll be living with me. No discussion, just a decision. I went along with it, even bought all the furniture, because I make more money, but the more I thought about it, the more I realized, he doesn't really get me. For context, I'm autistic, diagnosed early, and was raised by my grandmother after being removed from my mom's home at 10-11. Socializing has always been hard for me, and I have very few close friends. I think that's part of why I've clung to this relationship, but I feel so unseen in ways I can't keep ignoring. Some things that bother me, I'm always the one planning things. If I don't, we just sit at home or go to a bookstore. He never pays for anything. For Christmas, I spent hundreds on thoughtful gifts, and he got me a cheap stuffed animal, socks, and a $20 promise ring, only after I basically forced him to. He literally said, "Fine, damn." He makes me feel like an inconvenience, but then we'll have good moments where I think, oh, maybe he really is my best friend. The ick is growing. Some examples. When I told him to be safe driving home after a night out, he had been around drinking, he blew up, damn, I can't do anything. I'll just never go out again. Like, sorry for caring. He gets jealous over my goth fashion social media, even though I don't even open DMs from anyone other than my female best friend of 10 years. He tells me not to dress up or wear certain things because it makes him uncomfortable that others may be looking at me. But like, you knew who I was before we started dating, and I know this makes him sound awful, but it's not like that all the time. We do get along. But this is eating me alive. Now, I definitely don't want to move in with him. But how do I even bring this up? Every time I try to talk to him about my feelings, he either dismisses me, blows up, or turns it around until I end up apologizing. And to make it worse, my grandparents spent $5,000 remodeling the house without asking. They were just trying to help, but now I feel even more trapped. I'd gladly pay them back, and honestly, I'd let my boyfriend keep all the furniture I bought, which was another $5,000. I don't even care about the money at this point. I just feel like I'm drowning in this situation. The worst part. When I look up advice, it feels like everyone says they feel this way. Like, is this just how relationships are? Do people secretly hate their partners half the time and just deal with it? I thought love was supposed to feel good, not like this constant cycle of resentment, frustration, and second-guessing. Some days, it feels fine. Other days, I want to run. I don't even think I want him completely out of my life because, at the end of the day, we are friends. But then it's like what even is this relationship? What am I doing? One minute I'm fine, the next I'm spiraling. Aita for feeling this way. What do I even do? Stories number 48. I broke up. I broke up with my GF of 4 years. I am a guy with not any people around me. I was with her and our little poodle, that she will keep as he chose her as the owner and I don't want to take him away. I am broken. I am ashamed, I begged for her to give us one more chance. She revealed she has feelings for someone else already. I'm breaking down. I'm almost 21, male. I don't know what to do, it hurts so much. It's been hours and I haven't stopped crying and it hurts so much. I am having really bad suicidal thoughts and I know there is no chance of us getting back together, and it's killing me. She's all I've had for years and she's the only one I've trusted so much. And I will miss our dog so much. Please help. Stories number 49. I think I need to face the music. I'm finding it hard to write this, but I need to express what's been weighing on me so heavily. Lately, I've been feeling incredibly disconnected from my spouse. It's like we're living parallel lives, sharing a house but not really sharing our hearts anymore. After 20 years together, it feels like we're strangers. The laughter seems to have faded, replaced by silences that stretch on too long. We can sit in the car for an hour-long drive and not exchange a single word. It's not an angry silence, but it's a heavy, empty silence that makes me feel so alone, even when we're physically together. I miss the easy connection we once had, the feeling of truly being seen and understood. I'll ask her if everything is okay, and she'll say, yes, but that's it. The conversation ends there. It's like talking to a wall. It's not just the silence. Intimacy has disappeared from our lives. We don't even sit together in the living room anymore. We're like ships passing in the night. We don't kiss anymore, except for the perfunctory, routine goodnight peck. It feels empty, devoid of the passion we once shared. And the physical part of our relationship, well, that's non-existent. It's like a part of us has died. She often snaps at me, and it's like she doesn't even realize she's doing it. And then there are the fights. Over the dumbest things. A misplaced dish, a misinterpreted comment, and suddenly we're arguing, voices raised, hearts pounding. It's like we're looking for reasons to be angry with each other. It's exhausting and it leaves me feeling so drained and hopeless. Underneath it all, there's this heavy weight. I know she sacrificed a lot to be with me. She chose me over her family, and because of that, she wasn't there when her mom passed away. I can't help but feel like she blames me for that, even if she doesn't explicitly say it. It hangs in the air between us, unspoken but always present. It adds another layer of complexity to everything, making it even harder to find our way back to each other. We have 2 kids, 18 and 13. I worry about them seeing us like this. On top of everything, we've been struggling financially. We racked up a lot of debt over the years and finally had to declare bankruptcy. We're still paying off a monthly fee until July 2025. Rent is sky high everywhere, and with both our families living far away, I feel incredibly stuck. The thought of leaving terrifies me. I don't want to be the most hated person in my children's eyes, or in hers, or in the eyes of our extended families. I know relationships ebb and flow, and there are always ups and downs. But this feels different. This feels like a growing distance that I don't know how to bridge. I find myself wondering where the spark went, and if it's even possible to rekindle it. I'm not sure what the future holds, and that's honestly terrifying. I love my spouse, and the thought of losing them is heartbreaking. But I also know that I can't continue feeling this way. I need to find a way to navigate these difficult emotions and figure out what my next steps should be. I'm sharing this not for advice, but just to acknowledge the pain I'm feeling. Sometimes, just putting words to these feelings makes them feel a little less overwhelming. If anyone has ever felt something similar, know that you're not alone. And if you have any resources that helped you, I would be grateful if you shared them. Stories number 50. I'm getting kicked out at 18. Hello, I am F17 and panicking. I need help. I have always had a distant relationship with my mother, but unfortunately when I started high school it turned into a very strained relationship, and I started receiving lots of verbal abuse due to my mom's declining mental state. Most often being called a bitch, retarded, reminding me that I am a useless human being/daughter, and a waste of oxygen among many other insults. Sometimes in severe arguments it would turn physical, examples being slapping me, pulling my hair, and hurling whatever she had in her hands in the moment towards me. The worst experience being when she took a knife sharpener and whacked the metal end of it down on my head and kept trying to until I caught it with my hands and threw it, to which she got on top of me and started hitting me from above because she took me defending myself as me disrespecting her. My father has not been active in my life since I was 14, he was abusive in all ways mentally, physically, financially, and sexually to both my mother and I owe her everything for getting us out of that situation. I have an amazing stepdad who has taken us in and supported us. He has always been great to both my mom and I, but doesn't at all get involved with my mom's physical and verbal abuse towards me. He acknowledges it, but he himself grew up in a toxic environment and often excuses it because he sees it as normal, and that it is a common occurrence between all mothers and daughters. I often am dismissed or ignored when I try to reach out for help or communicate that this is abuse, and I am seen as a hormonal teen who is exaggerating. With all of this stated, I do not want to get CPS involved. I have been through that system before when I was 5 and it brought me so much trauma. I do not want to deal with that again. I will be 18 in July and I just don't see it as necessary. Recently, my mom has made it clear to me that she does not want to call me to call her mom, and that she does not want to be associated with me. She told me that as soon as I'm 18 I need to leave, and to not ever ask her for anything again because she has already done too much for me, and she feels as if I'm ungrateful. Luckily, I have a really great group of friends and an amazing boyfriend that have supported me and that I can fall back on in emergencies. I have lived with my best friend for periods of time when my mom has kicked me out previously. Her family has been aware of my situation for years and has done so much to help me. I owe them everything. Even still, I want to be as self-sufficient as possible. I don't want to fall back on anybody. I just don't know where to start and I'm so scared. My birthday is approaching and I feel like I'm running out of time. I don't know how to pay my own bills, or how to open a bank account, or how to save, or put down a lease, or any adult stuff. I was never taught. I don't really have a parental figure to go to. I don't know anything about anything. I don't want to rely on the people around me because I feel like they have helped me too much already, and I can't help but feel like a burden, and I think a part of me is ashamed to be in this position as well. What do I do? Where do I even start? I don't even have a job yet, but I've been applying to everywhere like crazy, and nothing has gotten back to me. How do I get a head start now on where I need to be when I'm 18? I feel so helpless. Anything helps. Stories number 51. Am I the asshole for not liking my cousin being trans? Okay, let me explain. My cousin was born male and has changed to female. Or I guess started identifying as one. He hasn't had any surgeries and isn't taking estrogen or puberty blockers as far as I know. Firstly, my cousin is 10. I don't know why his mother is encouraging his behavior, to be honest. I am not homophobic, I am pan myself. I wouldn't really mind if he was a little older, and I know I'm not his dad, but I personally would not encourage this so early on. He literally hasn't started puberty yet. He also cross-dresses. It really makes me uncomfortable. NGL, for context, his mother and him moved in about 2 years ago. I have been living here since I was 3, so a pretty long time. When I asked him to please stop wearing booty shorts today, no offense but literally ew, he looked at me and made a face that essentially said, no fuck you, and did not change out of the shorts that were literally made for girls 2 sizes smaller than him. I know it's not my life and I can't control his future, but I seriously hope this is just a phase. I mean, he hasn't even had a chance to be a boy yet. I'm thinking about having a talk with his mom. I know questioning your gender can be stressful. I had a femboy phase, but it was in private, but that doesn't mean he can dismiss my feelings. Honestly, really tired of being disrespected in my own house. If this offended anyone, I'm sorry. Thanks for reading.